Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of our Friday night live forging stream here. Tonight we are going to be forging what will become a 8-pound sledgehammer. This is going to be a wrought iron hammer with steel faces welded on. We're going to be doing the first part tonight, which will be doing the faggot weld, or billeting up this piece of wrought iron and getting it welded up. And I have some out-of-town guests with me today that are going to be my strikers. So I get to sweat predominantly less. So this is Dan.
Dan Roswood.
Dan Roswood. Why don't you tell them about yourself real quick?
So I got into blacksmithing just for fun, and I've been watching a lot of videos online, and it was a wonderful trip to be able to come out here and pick up a power hammer from Roy. So it's been awesome.
And he's a natural on camera.
Absolutely.
Natural on camera. So, and we've got Chirpy's Tinkerings here. YouTube channel, right? You got a YouTube channel? Yep. Why don't you tell them a little bit about the channel?
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I think I look good doing it, so. We do a little bit of casting, some machining, I go around to steam festivals. There's a little bit of blacksmithing, but not very much. But
we'll get him to be a blacksmith.
Yeah, before the night's over. We've got 2 hours to turn you into one. How's that sound?
That's right.
All right. No. Okay, you guys can stand wherever you like.
Yep.
No.
Get out of the way.
Stand out of the way there. Got 15 minutes of fame there, or 5 seconds of fame, or whatever it is. Oh. All right, who we have, honey?
All right, we have Granddad's Forge.
Hello, Granddad's Forge. Good to have you as part of the stream, sir.
Graham Pepper, of course.
Graham, pleasure as always.
Coffee's Forge.
Coffee's Forge. Hello.
Zen Master Me says, awesome. Hello, all.
Well, hello, Zen Master Me.
Frank Strock.
Frank Strock. Good to have you.
Jackson Kothler says, good evening.
Jackson, long time no hear from, buddy.
Red Forge Tools Limited.
Hello.
Armadillo Forge. So, all right, you guys let us know if it's coming in good and clear, and how the audio is sounding on this one. I have the audio settings just a little different than usual, so that way we know everything's going good on your end.
Yep. So I've already got a bar of wrought iron in the fire here. So I went ahead and did some maths and stuff over here. And you're probably too far away to take and actually see that, but that's okay. So in total, the amount of material that we're putting in this is 12 pounds of material. That consists of 3.6 pounds of high carbon tool steel for the faces. There's going to be 1 pound in some decorative cheek pieces that will go on the hammer. And then there's a total of 8.8 pounds of actual wrought iron that will be in this piece. So there is quite a bit of material here to move, but one of the nice things about wrought iron is that it is a lot softer to move. So if you were to compare this to, say, something like a 1095 high carbon steel the same size, it would probably move about like 1 inch square 1095. All this material together. And we're going to have quite a big stack. It's going to be about 2 inches wide by about 4 inches tall. When we get done, that stack will move about the same equivalency of what a 1095 1 inch square would move. So that's how much give this has because of that silica that's in the wrought. So it makes it very, very nice. What else, hon?
All right.
What you got going on?
Yes. Our Defu says, how is everybody this morning? It's 00:15 here in Ireland, so that must be just a little after midnight. You are up late.
We are doing well. Doing well. 7 p.m. here in Ohio.
Coffee's Forge, thank you for the $10 super chat, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Coffee. Make sure everybody give Mr. Coffee a hand clap in the comment section down below. We greatly appreciate you.
Robert Waters says, where does everybody find material at? Not many forges left around me.
I get my material at the scrapyard. So I'm fortunate enough here in Dayton that you can go right up to your scrapyards. They have a used and new steel department where you can buy both new and used material. Other than that, you can find it. You can usually find it at garage sales and stuff. Somebody will have a pile of junk laying there, and you're like, hey, can I have some of that? And a lot of times they're like, if you clean it, if you can haul it, you can have it. So that's another great resource there.
I actually have to buy it new where I live, unfortunately.
Yep.
So
You have to buy it new there.
Yep.
So.
otherwise they require me to get a permit to get it that way. So
And that
it's
is
just
rough.
cheaper. Yeah.
And if you feel like being on camera. you can
Oh,
come
I
right
just
over
didn't want to
and
get in the way of
on
what you got
camera.
going on. No, I can be there.
No, I'm just getting it hot here.
All right.
So getting it prepared.
Just didn't want to step on your mojo.
See, Paul Fontanini says he can't stay long. It's 7 a.m. in Australia.
Okay, Paul. Thanks for stopping by. For as long as you stay, sir. Oh. All right, I'm going to give a little bit of a heads up of what we're going to be doing first. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a one striker, and we're going to be using a set tool, set hammer. And I'll be coming out to my side of the anvil's edge there, and I will be taking and flooring down a tenon. I need a tenon so this way I can use a pair of tongs to take and grab and hold this piece, because it's going to get hot pretty quick. So I need to do that first, and then after that we will take a hot cut, and I've already got some lines prescribed on the wrought iron bar, and we're going to cut down halfway through the material, and then we're going to bend it back. And then we're going to flip it and halfway through the material and bend it back, so on and so forth. So it's going to fold up like an accordion. Once it's there, we'll put it in the fire, bring it up to a full welding heat, and we'll weld all those folds together. And that'll be the body of our hammer. Okay, we're pretty close. So who wants to be my striker for this first go around?
Be the first one? All right.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna come out, honey, to the anvil.
Okay.
What?
All right. You want me to go ahead and switch now?
What's that?
Switch now or in a few
Yep, you
minutes?
can switch now.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull this out. You ready?
Yep, we're ready.
Okay. All right. Wait until I get it set here. There. There. Go ahead and strike. Okay. Well. Okay. Well. Okay. Good. Yeah. Go ahead, hammer right straight down. And we'll have to be careful with this. Go ahead and hit it. So now it's really starting to cool off, so we'll have to stick it back in and bring it up to another high heat. Go ahead and hammer straight down. Go ahead, keep going. Keep striking. Alright, well, that's good. Alright.
Would you like a few more comments, Roy?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. What the Forge says, scrap yards here don't sell, but luckily I have Tampa Steel Supply less than an hour down the road.
And where is he at?
Let's see. He's in Florida somewhere, I think.
Okay.
George Muse says, hi from England.
Hello, hello?
Let's see. What the Forge says, good evening, Roy and Jess. Sounds awesome this evening.
Awesome, awesome. Good. Good evening, good evening. Now my mind is about in a million different spots right now until I get it forge welded, so bear with me. Bear with me.
And Gordon Family Forge, we appreciate the $20 super chat.
Hey, thank you, Gordon Family Forge.
It says, thanks for doing this.
You're very welcome.
Thanks
and
for
everybody
doing
give
this.
Gordon Family Forge a hand clap there in the comment section.
Pastor Josh Smith says, evening from the sweltering heat of Central California.
Well, good evening.
Mike G, yes, we do have some extra hands in the shop tonight.
Yes, we do. Oh. One extra hand, and then there's another extra hand here. So, as we're smithing on this, I have noticed that there is a delamination running the length of the bar. And so what that means is this is going to be a real nice treat for us tonight. I'm going to have to forge weld this tenon back together before we can proceed. So I'm going to bring it up to a really nice forge welding heat, and I'm going to weld that up. So that is the danger if you work something too cold with wrought iron. It likes to be very, very hot. So if you're working with something that is like a mild steel, about where mild steel would weld at, that is just general forging temperature for wrought iron. So wrought iron for welding, you're going to bring it out at a white or almost incandescent heat. It'll be very hard to look at, so don't try. You can keep from it. It likes to be worked very, very, very hot.
You had asked what the forge was located. He says, I'm located in Pinellas Park, Florida. My shop is a 10 by 12 aero shed in the backyard of a residential area. My neighbors were a bit confused when a truck came today and dropped off $200 in steel.
I imagine they might be.
I'm surprised they haven't heard you out there in your shed, though.
Yeah, like what in the world is that guy doing? Alright, so right now I'm bringing this thing up to a welding heat, this tenon joint. I'm needing to bring the fire up to the temperature that I want the wrought iron to come up to. Once that color of the inside core of that fire is where I want that wrought iron to come up to, I will reduce the airflow going to it. That is how you create a nice reducing environment inside the coal forge to bring your pieces up to welding heat without getting them to over-oxidize on you. This metal will not get any hotter than the color temperature of your forge. So if your color temperature of your forge is a dull red, it's never going to get any hotter than a dull red. If it is bright white in there and you need a dull red, it's going to heat very quickly to dull red. So something to keep in mind. I'm up quite hot in temperature there. And so we're going to make some squirty sparks here. Keeping that fire down a little bit. Alright, let's go to the anvil, Jess.
Alright.
It'll be just me this time, so. Now it's at the temp where I need to stop hammering on it. Well, we got that to stick back together, so that's good. You see how much that squirts. That's why they call wrought iron self-fluxing, because of that silica that's in it. Get that reheated again, and I'll weld that in a little tighter yet. Take one more welding heat on it.
Graham says, watch his eyes because he's not wearing safety glasses.
Yeah, that camera's right at that perfect level.
Yep, it sure is. Oh, he also gave us a $10 super chat and he said he likes your new haircut.
Hey, thank you, Graham. Yeah, it's the,
I was gonna say,
all the rage.
see, we've had a couple of pirate comments already.
Hard. Hey, I finally can start calling me a captain. I'm getting a crew.
There you go.
Yeah, I got a crew here.
Alan Schoonert says, Roy looks like a biker smith. So we'll have to count the votes between biker and pirate.
Biker and pirate.
Yep.
Well, see, I can't be a pirate today because I don't have the outfit on.
Oh yeah, you don't have the other shirt.
I just have a regular shirt on.
Michael Martin has a question about wrought iron. He says,
Yeah.
what do you recommend as the best items to search for when looking for wrought iron? I've heard you talk about bridge material, but do you have other items as well?
So if you're looking for a fine grain wrought iron, here's the trick. Here's the biggest trick. You need to look in places what the iron would have been used for. Anything in structural applications, because the iron would need to take and be strong, right? It would need to be refined, so this way it was to a certain quality or grade. Wagon wheels, old wagon wheels, that's a great source of fine grain iron, as where something more ornamental, say for a gate or a railing, maybe not so much. A lot of times that type of iron was not as refined because it didn't need to be as refined as something that is going to be under load or stress. So look for what the iron was used for, and that's really the best help I can give you there, to find used iron for doing projects if you're looking for good quality wrought iron. Hopefully I answered the question.
Yeah.
Bring this fire up here. I'll be glad once I get that in ready to go.
Herb Page says, hi Roy and Jessica. So now I get to watch somebody else work rather than visitors watching me work, LOL.
Hi, Herb Page. Yep. Now you get to tell me whether I'm doing it right.
He also says that he thinks you need a pirate tattoo.
I'm not a big tattoo guy. We were just talking about that. I'm afraid it would become addicting, you know? I don't have any tattoos now, and before you know it, I'd have a snake eating a baby or something on the face. You know, we don't want that.
No, we don't.
Jessica don't want that.
Corey Shire says, yep, Roy's got minions in the shop today.
I don't like that. You've been demoted to
I
minion.
just need the suspenders,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. So how'd you guys like that Sparks?
Oh, that was pretty fantastic.
Yeah?
Stuff I do is
Did it get you? Any? No? Good.
Got Milk 1061 says, thanks Roy for the pointers last time. I had a question on regards on not being able to work wrought iron. Had tried changing the propane bottle without any luck.
Okay. Tell me what it is that you were having a problem with.
If I remember correctly, it was they weren't able to move the wrought iron because you didn't think they were getting it hot enough.
Okay. Wrought iron likes to be very, very hot. So if you weren't getting it hot enough, it would be my suggestion to go up to a 40-pound cylinder. One of the other options is you can put the 20-pound cylinder in a warm bucket of water. I've heard guys profess. I haven't done that myself. I've moved up to a 40-pound cylinder.
you can get kits to game them too. Put multiple
can.
cylinders together. Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
do.
Yeah, that might be the way to do it that way too as well.
Gordon Family Forge says, are old I-beams made of wrought iron?
Really, really old. Like, really old.
Is there anything that gives it a good, like a dead giveaway, if something's made out of wrought iron or not, Roy?
Usually when they go to cut it and, you know, like tear it away and stuff, really old wrought iron, especially in like bridges and stuff. And I've got a few examples down there. They'll have some delamination, so they'll delaminate between the layers.
So it's kind of like
They'll
stringy
peel
looking.
up. Yeah, they'll get kind of stringy, the grain will. Yeah, it's basically just kind of judging by how old it is and then looking at it. If it's got some pieces that look like they're kind of peeling up off of it, like delamination, then that's most likely wrought iron. All right, this is good and hot. I'm going to bring it out and weld it up some more. So let's go to the anvil. You there?
Yep, we're there.
got that welded up nicely. Yeah, keep welding that in a little bit. Good to go. Next heat, I'll have somebody do a little striking for me.
All right.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Right now, the only point of me brushing is to make sure I'm getting, so I can see where that crack is, the little delamination. Always missing something when I need it.
What are you looking for?
There it is, pair of tongs. Well, we're getting a good preheat on the bar, that's for certain. You see how quickly that moisture is waking up there.
Oh yeah. Must be quite warm on the back end too.
You know, if I can feel it through a leather glove, it's quite hot.
Right? Herb Page says we should all chip in and get Roy a tattoo and let Jess pick the design, LOL. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm not much of a tattoo person. Or even if it's on somebody else, like Roy. I don't like needles in the first place. But.
Hey, I tell you what, I've heard tattoos are real expensive, so go ahead and chip in real high. And I will get a tattoo where no one can see it. And if you believe that line, I have oceanfront property in Arizona for you. Real great price.
Frank Strock says you guys are my Friday night dinner and a movie.
I didn't know I was that entertaining.
Apparently you are.
All right, who wants to strike for this next time when I get it up and hot? You?
That'll be me, yep.
All right.
Be easier from over here.
Yeah.
Pastor Josh Smith says, so what you're saying is that wrought iron is the string cheese of metal.
Yeah, basically. Basically. So to dispel some myths about wrought iron. So some people will say there's a lot of generalities about wrought iron as, you know, wrought iron, oh, it's this weird thing to work, or it's really difficult, or this or that. Wrought iron can be one of the easiest things to work. It's one of the easiest things to smith by hand, definitely. And I don't think the only thing that you could do better than that is maybe pure iron, which I don't have any sampling of to compare it to. But wrought iron, you need to take and pay attention to its grain, which way that grain is running, because it has longitudinal grain structure in it. And what that means is it's got that fibrous, it's almost like wood. That means you can split it like wood. If you put a big driving wedge in between the grains, you're going to split it like a chunk of wood. That is completely possible. Oh, little piece of gravel was in there. That's what happens if you get a little bit of gravel in your coal pile. So wrought iron likes to be manipulated with its grain structure. So if you have a piece of wrought iron that keeps splitting on you, it is because you're either working it against its natural flow of grain structure, or you are working at a too low of a temperature. And that is most likely the problem. Even wrought iron, where you see where it has delamination, you can take that without any flux whatsoever, heat it up to a welding heat, it will flux itself, and you'll be able to hammer away on it and knock that right back into order and stick it back down. So it doesn't have to be as clean as something like a Damascus billet or something of that nature. Now, with that being said, there's a reason why I'm doing this this faggot welding technique versus just a stack weld of the wrought iron. And the reason for that being is if I were to just do a stack weld on the wrought iron, the end grains, at the end of those grains, would not like to fuse at the very end of it. So I would leave roughly about a 16th to an 18th of a 16th to an 1/8 inch possibly of unwelded material there. Well, that's going to be real bad because we're planning on welding on high carbon steel faces. And so what ends up happening at a later date is those will grow, they will grow delamination in there, and they'll start delaminating the face from the hammer. So billeting it back and forth like this eliminates that, because it puts every surface to where it can weld in and mend into a fellow surface instead of just being out there in no man's land left willy-nilly. So wrought iron, the hardest part about working with wrought iron is thinking ahead. Thinking of how that grain structure is going to flow through your piece. Same thing. You can't punch, like in a mild steel bar, if you're going to make a bottle opener. You can just slot punch a hole and drift it out right by the end of the bar, and it'll stay together because it has that homogenized grain structure. In wrought iron, because it's like wood, you punch a hole in the center of the bar, you go to drift it, it's going to pop apart right on the end. So what that means is in order to take and make like a bottle opener and drift a hole through it, you need to take and observe that, and you need to wrap the eye back around so the grain structure flows around the eye and then drift it. Because then what you're doing is you're bending the wood versus splitting the wood. I hope that makes sense. So that's just some helpful techniques, tips. I hope that'll help somebody out there that's struggling with it. It can be a little bit of a struggle when you're used to working with structural steel, some kind like a mild steel, or maybe all you've ever worked with was homogenized steel, period, no matter what grade, and wrapping your mind that it has a grain, and that grain needs to flow around the objects. It can be very difficult. Good con. Any questions, honey?
Yes. Justin Wales.
This is hot.
Justin Wells says, did your parents ever tell you cannot be a blacksmith full-time?
No. My parents have always been fairly supportive. They've maybe not always understood what it is that I was talking about, but they've always been fairly supportive of it. More or less, they were worried about Jessica and the babies starving. Oh, as long as I've kept them fed, my parents are okay with it. All right, so we're going to do the set hammer thing here. Okay. About 10 minutes. Well, then hang it up. Go ahead and hammer. Hard. Good. Got a hammer right here. Well, that's good. Now right here is cold working this. I know on the camera it looks a little hotter, but at this temperature right here, you're prone to splitting again. So you got to be real careful of it. Now, there's a split, still a little bit, that I did not address. And the reason why is I don't need to address it, because it's going to be welded in. So hopefully they can see this. Can they see that?
Yep.
Can you see the split?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right there? So you can see there's a bit of a split, a little delamination. This is not something to freak out about. This is normal and pretty common with wrought iron. It's why wrought iron is called wrought iron. It means to rot or to work. You are going to work when you work with wrought iron. Don't like that, stick with mild steel. So right here, we've got this welded back up. This had a split all the way to the end. I just went ahead and forge welded it back up. There's no problem. There's no split on the end anymore. We're good to go. This right here I don't have to worry about, because when we faggot weld this back onto itself, it's going to weld and close that up. So there's no point in me dressing that right now. It's not going to go nowhere. It's going to get trapped by the billet on top of it when it makes that weld. between these two surfaces. So all I'm focusing on is drawing down this bit of material so it'll fit in my tongs. And we're almost there. I got one more high heat to bring it up to, and we'll draw it down. You guys having fun?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm enjoying it.
Having fun?
Yeah. Like I said, when I'm doing smithing, it's always really small stuff. So this is the big boy stuff.
Let's see, Granddad's Forge, I did see your comment. I tried to scroll back up and find it again. His comment was, do wrought iron nails act like screws because of the grain? And I'm sorry if I'm terribly paraphrasing it. You'll have to tell me what it was again so I can tell Roy. But he's asking if that makes it stronger because of the grain being in the nails.
I wouldn't say that it makes it any stronger, but there is some data to support that a square nail has higher strength capacity compared to a round nail of not being able to be pulled back out. And maybe logic could say that the grain that's in wrought iron, if it was granularly enough, it would have enough rough grain in it, that maybe it would have a tendency to stick in the wood possibly maybe a little bit better. Although, if I'm just talking this out as a thought exercise, I would say probably not, as the less surface area of contact that you have between a piece, it's going to have less mechanical adhesion. It's just going to pull out. That would be my assumption on that. So I don't think it would matter that much for wrought iron opposed to a regular nail. I have, however, been able to make about the equivalency of what a 20-penny nail would be, and then made that in square, and then took a regular factory 20-penny nail, and I could pull out the factory 20-penny nail easy peasy. It's still stuck in it to this day. I beat that nail into a tree, and it's not coming back out, the one that I had forged. So
Yeah, a lot of the old places that use the old Smith nails, they would actually burn the places down to get the nails.
Get
It
the
was
nails
cheaper
out.
to feed out than pay.
yeah, they're a valuable commodity if you have to
Back then.
forge every one by hand there.
Your mom's on the stream. She says, love you all and I'm proud of you.
Awesome, Mama. Thank you for being part of the stream. Love you too.
Let's see here. There's a few coffees. Forge says, Happy Father's Day, Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Coffee. Same to you if you're a father there, sir.
Darren from Energy Management gave us a $50 super chat.
Hey, Darren. Thank you. I've been missing your super chats. Where have you been? Everybody give Darren a hand clap in the comment section. Thank you, Darren. You help these streams so much, sir.
What the Forge says, this is the biggest project I have seen you forge, Roy.
Yeah. Well, I had some strong backs and weak minds that came to the shop, so I figured I might as well take advantage of them while they're here.
But if we're willing subjects, is it really taking advantage?
I don't know. Details.
Details.
Devil's in the details.
Corey Shire says that he had seen the black line and wondered if it was a split.
Yeah, so there are no splits in wrought iron, there's delaminations. Delaminations and splits are two different things. Splits are because you have a grain failure, it's a failure. Splits will happen laterally across the grain. That's a split in wrought iron. A delamination is between the iron and the silica. It's where it's broken contact with the silica. And all it takes is bringing it back up to a welding heat, and it goes right back together. That's a delamination. So when you're talking about wrought iron, if you see something, the grain flow is in this direction, but you get a crack across it this way, that's a split or a crack or a failure of that grain. If it's going lengthways with the bar, it's just a delamination. There's nothing to concern yourself with on that. If you have wrought iron that cracks cross grain. Save yourself the headache. Cut it up in a bunch of pieces and restack and forge weld it together in alternating layers and draw that out, and you'll get a more homogenized grain structure out of it. Not perfect, but it'll counteract that cracking, and you can draw it out into a usable piece then. But you don't have to undergo all that mess if you don't have to. What up, Ryan?
What's that?
What else?
All right. Pastor Josh Smith, I think he said just hit 22 subs last night. So, well, good. You're growing yourself a little channel then.
Awesome.
I've been surprised on last live stream how many little blacksmithing channels we have that's joining us. So that's awesome for you guys.
Yeah.
Filming can be a lot of fun. Granddad Sports says, always loved Roy's apron. It looks awesome and comfortable.
It's very comfortable. Now, you do pick up quite a bit of heat on this end, but it shields you from a lot of the radiating heat from the fire, so that's nice. All right, we're going to go ahead and strike again. Go ahead and use the flatter.
Flatter one?
They got a flatter face hammer there. So, all right, you going to the anvil, Jess?
Yep, we're there.
Okay. Got a hammer? Go for it. Go for it. Go. 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 Harder. 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 Good job. Hit.
Wow.
Strike. 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 Whoa. Okay. Hit it. Again. Whoa. Pretty good. Okay, so we got that drawn down quite a bit. Still won't fit my tongs though, so I have to draw it down the rest of the way here. We'll come out and just hammer it down with the hammer instead of using the set hammer. And that'll be able to get it into my tongs then. I'll be able to fit it in the tongs to be able to do the rest of the work. So one more heat, promise. Ish.
Ish.
Kind of promise-ish. I am always losing that pair of tongs.
Is it this one right here, Roy?
Yes, it is. Jessica saves the day. Hashtag Jessica's awesome. How many subscribers do you have there, Chirpy?
About 530.
Yep.
530? Cool.
Not very big, but
Hey, that's all right.
just do what I do, and some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah. I was surprised when I had 530 people that were willing to listen to me rant and ramble.
What the Forge says, at this rate I might have to start filming again.
Might as well, give it a go. I'll give you $1 for every video that you have more than me. They've got to be at least 8 to 12 minutes long though.
See here. I can't tell how many people's in here right now. It's not
Nope.
giving me, it doesn't have, it says offline, but I know you guys are actually there because I see your comments, so
Okay.
it's a little glitch thing, but we're good though.
Are we online, ladies and gents?
Can you see
Are we
us?
still here? Ay, ay,
Thomas D says, watch out for the gremlins.
The gremlins.
Gremlins, yep. Nova Blacksmith says, do you have any advice for a beginner blacksmith? I love to do small forging projects in my garage and would love some advice.
So that's a really broad question. I have 811 videos of advice for exactly that. Small businesses, blacksmiths, beginning blacksmiths of all kinds. So if you have a kind of a more specific question you want to ask me, I would be happy to answer you. But that's a real broad question. I could probably talk to you for the next 22 days straight with advice.
Yep.
So clarify a little better, and I'll see if I can't help you with a specific question.
Let's see, Rock Mike made it to the live stream.
Thank you for being here, Rock Mike.
Brent Legg's also joining us.
Brent Legg, good to have you here.
Have you used that hammer yet on anything?
Yeah.
Let's see,
I think it's a wall hanger.
a wall hanger. It's gonna hang on the mantle.
It might.
Gordon Family Forge says, Roy, have you ever thought about putting a variable speed motor on your blower?
Yeah, I've thought about it, but I don't want to take and do that on this forge. So I like hand crank forges. Now, there will be a point when I redesign, I'll eventually retire this forge, and I will go to a variable speed, a VFD drive type blower system for a forge that I'm designing, and that'll go into my new workshop when I get it. And then, yeah, but as far as adapting this one, nope, couldn't do it. I've kept this thing essentially the same for the last 10 years. Oh, and it'll probably stay that way till I die and Jessica sells it for a ridiculously cheap price to somebody else.
Well,
That's just getting into blacksmithing.
Unless it's in the Museum of Roy, right?
Yeah, it might be in the Museum of Roy. It'll be such a small museum with not a whole lot to say. You're like, yeah, it was Roy. What can we say about Roy? He was there most days. Other days, we couldn't really tell you.
For the Honor Forge says, how many people are in that forge right now?
There is 4.
Yep,
Right?
yep, 4 of us.
I think so.
Yeah, 4 whole people.
Let's see, Rock Mike.
Unless you're talking mentally, then I'm completely gone.
Okay, in that case, there's 3 mentally sound and 1 mentally challenged person in the house.
Rock Mike, he says, I may need your inventions for handicapped smiths, Roy. I blew my knee out and can't afford surgery, but I still want to forge.
Okay. Well, tell me what you're needing for me to invent. Besides power hammer. I've already done a power hammer that would do that. That's the Hardy hammer. That's a good way of doing that. Got a few other things on the designing table yet. Alright, so we're going to come out and we're going to go ahead and just draw out that a little bit more. We're going to try to draw it down. So. Okay, you ready, Jess?
Yes, I
The
am.
anvil?
Yep.
Alright, go ahead, strike. Work up towards the shoulder. Good, strike. Up here. A little more, well, that's good. And take it in from the rest of the leg here. There we go. Get that all straightened up. Good to go. Thank you. That's right, Dan. We just had to put real muscle on it.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna make that comment, but then you started talking, so.
Yeah. So now we'll check it in the tongs. I haven't used these tongs in a while. I haven't had anything big to work on. See if this will fit now. Yep, beautifully. Perfect, perfect. Now we begin our folding operation.
I'm actually amazed at just how fast that moves though. You get that up to that
Yeah.
temperature and it
Moves quick,
really
doesn't it?
moves, yeah.
The 1095 won't move as easily. No, that's a 2" by 2" by 2" cube, basically. 1095. That one won't move as nearly as much.
Brent Lex says he's gonna test out his hammer here in about an hour or so.
Woo! I hope all goes well, Brent. If it doesn't, let me know.
Rock Mike says, I'm
But
thinking.
not on the live stream because I'll probably cry a little. So don't let me know on the live stream. Wait until afterwards when I'm sitting down.
He's gonna sit for the whole. Well, he's gonna watch the whole live stream. So
He's gonna watch the whole live
He
stream.
doesn't want to miss it.
Good. Good.
Rock Mike says he's thinking the chair and a Hardy hammer for sure.
Okay. Chair and Hardy hammer. Yeah, those are a great way if you're doing small stuff, that Hardy hammer. In fact, Dan here, that's one of the reasons why he came to see me, huh, Dan?
Yep.
He bought my Hardy hammer from me.
Just
The
decided
original
to come in
concept
and
design stuff.
absolutely. So,
Yep. And he does small stuff too, so it's gonna work out. Yeah, I was telling him I kind of had seller's remorse today. I was like, but I love this little thing, and oh, it's so cute, I want to keep it. And it just, I've got a big hammer, and I've got another big hammer I'm building, and so I can't keep them all. Sadly.
We already got 2 power hammers.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I got 2 power hammers here, yeah.
Well, I'm just the half hammer though. We've already established that one.
We are sorry. We are sorry. We're sorry you feel that way. Make sure my clips are going to work out here. Nice.
He's the farrier.
Yes, yeah. I like to do smaller stuff.
Like,
Hey,
well,
there's-
there's lots. Real fast.
There's nothing wrong with smaller stuff to be done. We all need a little small things to do every now and then. You see how much that weighs compared, you guys probably can't see this, but here's these tongs. That shows you how much that piece weighs. It's laying in the fire. It can hold those big old long 2-foot tongs up in the air. Questions, Jeff?
Yes, Nova Blacksmith says, sorry for the broad question, LOL, but I enjoy watching knife making videos and I'm not really sure where to start. I would love to be able to make hunting style knives. Oh, and by the way, remember, you guys remember the flat and pointy t-shirt we were talking about? I finally made it. And it's on our Teespring, so it says, keep it flat and pointy. But go ahead, Roy.
She says, go ahead, Roy, honestly. So, Nova Blacksmith, I am not the guy to talk to about knives. I am not a purveyor of them or a forger of them. But the biggest advice I can give you is to get a firm foundation in the fundamentals of blacksmithing. I got a whole video series on the channel about the fundamentals of blacksmithing. And there's a lot of other channels out there that have done a fundamental series as well. Really invest heavily in your fundamentals before you jump straight to becoming a knife maker. Problem is a lot of people will skip that step, and then later on what they're doing is 10 years from now they're still beating a big old booger on the end of a piece of bar. They're grinding the profile to the shape they want and then turning that into a knife and calling themselves a bladesmith. And so the problem with that is that's very, very limited. The things that you can do if you get a firm foundation in the fundamentals of the way that you need to hold your hammer, to the way that you're drawing out, to the different types of drawing out there is, to punching and chisel work and you name it, things like that will really go a long way to help you in your career as a bladesmith or as your hobby as a bladesmith.
Yeah, I think the best video of yours that I used, it was one where you basically put an X and you had to continue hitting that. And
Yep.
just keep going, and when you can accurately use the hammer, that was one that it helped me the most.
Yep.
I think that one's called improving accuracy. if
Yeah,
I
something like
remember
that.
right.
Yeah. I watched that, probably half your views on that were just
Yep.
me. I kept watching it over and over, just going out and trying it. It really,
Good go, so.
that was the
Yeah.
biggest thing that helped me.
And Noah Blacksmith, so glad to have you as part of the channel. Thank you for being part of our channel. I do mostly ornamental work here on this channel, but glad to have you hang around. There is a lot of videos of content on the fundamentals and beginner practice exercises, all the way up to more advanced stuff like what we're doing here.
And we do have a video on making blade tongs as well.
Yeah, we do have some bladesmithing tongs. Or bastards.
We're gonna swap once more.
They're fighting over who can strike for me. I like this.
Take turns.
Is that why blacksmiths always have apprentices?
So the next step that we're going to be doing is I've got a butcher tool here. It's just nothing more than, this is actually a piece of 1095 that I've hammered out here. It's basically a slit chisel to be holding in. I call these little bobs. I call them like bob tooling or power hammer tooling. You can find these all across the internet and off of the internet. I saw these here about 6-7 years ago. I saw a guy demonstrate at Quad State that was, I forget the guy's name, he was using these, and that's where I picked them up from. Just a short handheld butcher tool, just a chisel, so I can cut down through the wrought iron to make a sever cut on it, and then it'll get bent over and bent back. So that's what we'll be doing next. We'll be using the flat hammer there. If there's enough heat on that, we can do some damage. All right, we ready? We go to the,
All right,
go to the
switch
anvil.
over.
You good?
Yep, we're good.
All right.
Where's the best place for me to stand? Here?
Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead. Hold up. Well. Don't get carried away. Go ahead. Well. I'm going to set this back in the fire real quick to get it hot. One more time here. I've got to readjust this. I have this set up where it's running the wrong way. Since I'm working with a striker and these tongs are long, that everything's right in line like this, I can't set my knuckles on top of the bar of steel. So I need to cant this at an angle so we can get it cut properly. I'll take this off. Here's the nice thing about it. Just a quick adjustment. Voila. Now I put my tong clip back on and we're back in business.
Big Dog Forge is here, and he said he received the package.
Awesome, Tim. Glad you got it, buddy. I am looking forward to it, sir. So, for those of you who don't know, it's been a little hush-hush so far, but there is going to be an upcoming collaboration between me and several other YouTube blacksmiths. Tim happens to be one of those blacksmiths over at Big Dog Forge. I sent them some wrought iron, and every channel that's in the collaboration is going to make something out of that wrought iron. So John Switzer at Black Bear Forge is in on this, and there's also David at Working with Nature.
Work with nature.
Work with Nature.
Yeah.
Is all part of this multi-channel collaboration, and we're all going to forge something out of wrought iron. Now, you don't be confused. This isn't what my thing is for the collaboration. I've got something much, much bigger planned. Much, much bigger. So, if 12 pounds of wrought iron wasn't enough.
Right.
Thank you for being here, Tim. So also, one other thing I'd like to point out, and this is really something that's near and dear to my heart. When I first got started in blacksmithing, and I know I'm going to talk a little bit here for a bit, so you guys can settle in for a good conversation from old pirate Captain Roy here. Ahoy, mateys. Welcome aboard this long ship. So, when I first got started in blacksmithing, a lot of what I wanted to do felt like it was always out of my reach to do. Whether I didn't know enough, I didn't have the skill enough, or I didn't have the tools enough. And slowly I thought I knew enough. I had enough skill, possessed enough, mental fortitude at least to undertake the project, but I lacked the tooling. And I lacked the tooling for a lot of years. And through doing it as a profession, I had to overcome those obstacles, sometimes by brute strength, sometimes by ingenuity, sometimes by building all my own tools, because I could not resource those tools cheap enough that I could actually afford them at the time. It's real easy to look at me and in my shop, look at Tim at Big Dog Forge or John Switzer or Black Bear Forge or any of the great smiths out there, Alex Steele, Borgaman, you name it. You can look at their shops and you go, wow, must be so nice. Wow, must be so nice. They worked very hard for every last tool they have in their shop. And a lot of times that came from a lot of sweat, a lot of ingenuity, a lot of failures along the way, and that is all part of the process. Do not feel that you need to have a 465-pound anvil. You need to have this specific coal forge. You need to have some great and grand, glorious gas forge, right? It's like, it's the cat's meow, and that's what you need, and otherwise you can't be a blacksmith. Blacksmithing has been going on for at least 12,000 years, and probably a lot longer than that. And for as long as that, we've been smithing out of the dirt and clay and raw materials to who knows what the material was. They just stuck it in the fire and saw what happened when they whacked it, right? And we've gotten and we've progressed through the centuries to where we are now. So you can look and you can get a little bewildered as a starting smith at all the tools that maybe somebody has in their shop, and you think because they're doing a specific project, you can't do that yourself. It is one big reason why I don't use power equipment in my shop a lot on my YouTube videos. The reason why is a lot of people do not have power hammers or presses or things like that. I do. I have a 37-ton press. I have a 37-pound Ram power hammer that I built myself from the ground up, from scratch. There's plans on that. There's my plug. I've built gas forges. I've built welding tables. I've built grinders. I've built all this different type stuff over the process of time. It's taken 4 to 5 years to get to where I'm at now with everything built up. And a lot of different changes in that time. But if you take notice right now, I'm going to smith a very beautiful, with the help of some great friends here that decided to, be suckered into eating pizza and helping me smith this here. Even if I didn't have that and I was doing this myself, it would take a lot more time. But you're seeing me do this in a simple forge of heat treatment, hand crank, no fancy blowers, equipment, and an anvil. Something to whack upon, right? And that's really all that is required. You need something to hit it with, and you need something to heat it with, and something to beat it against. So that's all you need to start forging today. Do not let physical hindrances or what your ideal blacksmith in your mind stop you from starting smithing today. Very crucial that you learn that early on, and if you do, you'll surprise the heck out of yourself. Like, wow, I'm surprised I was able to do that. Only took me 37 hours, but I was able to do that, darn it, and I did it all by hand. So what we're doing tonight, we're doing a very traditional method of getting up enough stock to have a sledgehammer. Just like smiths thousands of years ago would have had to done if they needed to have enough mass there to work with. So there's nothing different here. Hopefully that'll encourage somebody out there today. Toot toot, boat's over. On we go.
Your dad says if you're going to tell a story, you should have an eye patch.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
some of the forges and stuff I've seen people come up with, it was literally just a soup can
Yep.
with some charcoal in it and a hairdryer that went on low, the cool setting, and they used one of the track plates.
Yep.
They just bolted it down to a lump, a stump, and that was all they used.
Yep.
And it worked great.
That simple, and you can get cement. Now you may not be able to do a large sledgehammer in that soup can. You might have to move up to a barrel or something, but you know,
Not a
I
soup
mean,
can, a coffee can.
a coffee can. Okay, yeah, a coffee can. You know, and so that just shows you, nothing can really stop you from doing what you want to take and do. You are only hindered by your own preconceived ideals and limited imagination. If you have a lot of imagination and you have big ideals for the future, you're in the right spot. You're in the right spot.
Gordon Family Forge says, I call tools skill magnifiers because if there's no skill, the tools is not going to do you any good.
Nope. Well, it's interesting. There's a thing, and I used to think it myself. Used to think like, wow, look, man, that guy, he's got a power hammer. He really knows what he's doing. That is the worst thing you can think. There's people who go to college, they learn on a power hammer, they only have ever worked with a power hammer, and then you put a file in their hand, and they couldn't file 1/16 of material straight off of a piece of bark. You put a hand hammer in their hand, and they're hitting more of the anvil than they ever do the piece, because it's a tool, and it's only as good as the person who's skilled enough to run it. Now, you put them on a power hammer, man, they can make all sorts of metal move, and they know how to work the power hammer just fine. So much of this craft is that tools magnify the skills of the smith. Very good quote. I like that one. All right, let's get to cutting on this thing.
Alrighty.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Nice and easy. Go ahead. Hit it. 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 Again. 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 And again. And again. Well, good job. So that's been cut down through halfway. Would you like to try the next cut?
No, I'll leave it to the pro.
Okay. So that's been cut through halfway. You can see how the core of the bar is still really nice and hot. So we're going to cool this. One secret to working material this thick, you want to make sure you remove the chisel each and every time after a hit. Don't get too carried away with this because it can just roll that edge right over before you know it. That hot a material, it's a lot hotter than you think, because you can look in there and you can see how much hotter it is inside the core
Yeah, it does look
than what
hotter.
it is on the outside. So now before we bend this, we're going to go ahead and chop this side mark, the next portion into our little accordion, and then we'll do this last bit. Then we'll come back to the front and start folding them up as we go. If we were to fold this now, it would just be in our way for cutting this one. So we don't want to do that. So into the fire it goes, and a lot deeper.
Donald Roberts says, when I first started, all I had was a torch for plumbing and a framing hammer. My grandfather saw what I was doing and helped out.
Yeah. I love first setups. I had one guy one time really unnerved me, and this was in my earlier days on YouTube. But I have a heart for beginning blacksmiths. I love seeing beginners grow and mature and do their thing. And I forget now. I was talking about the cost of tooling, pretty much just stop whining about it. It costs what it costs kind of thing. And the guy came in and he said, wow, you're really disconnected from what the rest of the society has to deal with, right? Must be nice kind of thing. And that really bugged me. It really bugged me because that guy don't know me. That guy don't know what I've grown up with. That guy don't know where I've come from. So, I'm not disconnected. I have a heart for guys, and I have a heart to say, instead of where you get from people like that where they take and tell you, yeah, man, you've got a soup can or you got a coffee can forged. You're not a real blacksmith. You can't smith nothing. Okay, I guess all the guys that are in India with little dirt forges that are beaten out like parangs and things, they're not real blacksmiths. They have no craftsmanship. You know, while they got their wife over there, you know, pedaling the blower by arm, you know, one of those things. Thank God we don't live in India. Ain't that right? Oh, right? They're not real craftspeople. They're not a real blacksmith. You've got to have at least a gas forge unless you're going to call yourself a real smith. And so I'd rather take and spread positivity and saying, you know, stop crying about the tools. If you can't afford a tool, sell something. Put your money where your mouth is. Stop watching Netflix. Stop watching YouTube. You know, do something productive with your time. Work towards it like everybody else has. It comes with a lot of blood, sweat, tears, burns, scrapes, cuts. Nothing in life is free. You've heard that. Guys that become master smiths, they don't get there just because they woke up one day and boy howdy, they arrived. They got there through years and years and years of dedication to the mastery of a craft. So, I love hearing startup stories. Like, hey, I'm smithing in this little lean-to shack, and it rains in, and you know I get gale force winds that just spray me in the face, all while I'm trying to live stream, you know, for YouTube. Well, praise God for you, brother. You keep smithing on, because that's exactly where I was at 9 years ago.
On the topic of tools, Coffee's Forge asked if you know of anybody that has blowers for sale locally.
Blowers, like
Forge blowers.
power blowers, like electrical blowers, or hand crank. Hand crank, no. Don't know of anybody with hand crank blowers. Power blowers, you can get those pretty cheap on Amazon. I think that's where I got the ones for my, like the one that's on my Mankel forge over here. I got that off Amazon. They don't come pre-wired. You have to wire them with a switch and stuff.
Let's see here. Jason Sullivan from Shamrock Forge gave us a $5 super chat.
Thank you, Jason Sullivan.
And he said, thanks for the content. Glad I got to catch a live stream finally. I'm usually driving at this time.
All right, good to have you. Glad you're not breaking the law this time.
Your cousin says, I find it funny you don't make knives, but when you were kids, you always had one right by your side. LOL.
Yep. Yeah, my cousin knows me oh too well. When I was about 7 years old, picked the habit up when I was about 5 years old. You know, back when it was legal that a child could have a pocket knife. That was way back, huh?
Yeah.
We're getting back a few years there. At least 25 of them. 25 years ago, in 3 days, I had pretty much a pocket knife collecting addiction. And so every time we'd go to a flea market or I'd have a birthday or a Christmas, I'd always get a pocket knife. And at one time I had so many knives that I didn't like to just put them in a box. No, I wanted to wear them all on me at one time, you know, and so it was uncommon to see me without at least half a dozen knives on me at any one given time, so it was a phase. Then I had a funny story. My sister had a little boyfriend in grade school that came over to our house one time, and I was telling him about my pocket knife collection, and we were living in town at this time, so big difference from the country, being a country kid. We were living in town and kind of in the little cul-de-sac city. And anyways, he's like, "Oh, that's real neat, real neat, real neat." And so I showed him my collection and stuff, and then went on playing. Well, he had took and stole one of my pocket knives and decided to take it to school with him. And he took it to school with him and put it in his locker, and he got found out. And it was a big hoopla, where he got the knife from and everything else. Yeah, I got the belt for that one. Because I showed people my pocket knife collection, you know. I didn't know that there was anything wrong with it at that time, you know. But, yeah, stole a knife and took it to school. So, don't do that, kids. Don't do that. Today you will definitely get arrested. Don't do that. Times have changed. That one, he just got detention. Can't expect that in today's schools now, so. You ready?
Yep.
Woo! All right. Nice and easy. Go ahead. Go. 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 Yeah. That one moves. Good job. Wait till I get it. Go. Wait till you see it stop. See how it stop? Good job. Keep going. Well. Look at the side. Yeah, we're about there. Let's go one more with it. Good? Good. My light finally died! Yay! I was waiting for an excuse of replacing it.
Well, we're still well lit anyway.
Good. Well, good job. I really hope you guys are enjoying this, and you'll stick around for the climactic part where we do the big weld.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool.
Oh. So, real quick, just so you know, Dan here in Chirpy is going to stick with me tomorrow, and we are going to do a vlog and a video, and we're going to weld the faces onto this in that video. So I'll try to get that video out sometime in the next week or so you guys can see that. But after this stream, that'll be the last time you see of this piece until we get faces welded on. So, now we're on to this cut, the last cut. And if you can see, hopefully you guys can see that, can you see a little delamination right here?
Yep.
Again, it's not a crack, it's a delamination. It's running the length of the bar.
Thomas D says, we're here for the long run, Roy.
Cool. And real quick, since we can't see it on our end, somebody tell us how many people we got in the stream.
Yes. Yeah, I had just seen everybody's commenting. We have 3 different Thomases and 2 different Billies in the stream. So, Billy Strong and Thomas D, bunch of D Thomas.
Good news is we're producing a lot of coke. That'll make this easier to weld. So how many people we got watching the stream so far?
Nobody said yet. I think a few minutes ago somebody said 62.
Okay. Type faster, people. Come on.
Okay, there we go. 65.
65. Woohoo! Thank you all for being a part of the stream. Now's a good time to share all this boring, monotonous work. Tell them with promises of great grandeur that Roy's actually going to do something interesting tonight.
That's really cool.
What's that?
The end down here is actually different color flames.
Yeah, shooting out the flames, yeah. Kirby was just pointing out that out here at the end of the bar on the other side of the forge, it's putting out like these blue kind of flames and they're coming out from the end of the bar. And what that is that's actually called a chimney effect. So it's taking, and the flame is hitting the bar, it's hitting resistance, and there's a slight pocket under that bar. Can't show with gloves on. There's a slight pocket under that bar where I've nestled it through the coal, and it's creating a chimney for an outlet of those flames. So if you're working a piece that you're holding by hand, and it seems like it's always heating up pretty quick, you might be getting some of that chimneying up the bar stop. The way you eliminate that is by tacking down underneath the piece, the coal. Food for thought.
No, that's certainly interesting, especially for people that haven't done that. I mean, I run into that myself, even just the little stuff I've done.
Yep.
Vincent Golden says, your shows are always interesting, Roy, never a dull moment.
Good. Never know what I might do. Okay, since I know he's not going to be here tonight, I'm going to go ahead and talk bad about it behind his back. What is up with James at County Line Forge? Mr. Ting Ting himself, not doing the shuffle. I am depressed. I get razzed all the time about doing a dance and cutting a jig. And this guy makes it off scot-free? See what the comments are on that one.
Jason Sullivan at Shamrock Forge says, is the piece you sent to James a piece off of that bar?
Yes, it is. So I already contacted James about that. When he cut the piece from the bar, and I've got a piece right here, an example piece, the same thing. Let's go to the anvil, honey.
Sure.
Hopefully they can see that. Can they see that?
Yep.
Is that well lit enough?
Yeah, I believe so. Here, I'll do a little zoom in.
If it's well lit enough. I can always take up the ISO a bit too.
Nope, that's good.
Okay, decent?
Yep.
Okay. So this was cut from the same bar, about the same way that he did it. I think he had just a little longer piece than what I've got here, just a fuzz bit longer. But basically he took a little cross section off the end of the bar. The grain runs in this direction. When he started smithing, he smithed it out in this direction. So he smithed it out in a cross grain like manner. And so what that means is that delamination that was within inside the bar, all he was doing was stretching that delamination out and never welding it back shut. Because you need to work with wrought iron in the direction of the original grain structure. So instead of, and hopefully you'll watch this on the replay, not trying to badmouth him or anything like that. Although I do want to see the ting ting shuffle there. But he should have smithed it like this. Can you see, honey?
Yeah.
Is it good enough?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. It looks really dark from this end.
Alright, let's see if I can do something a little more
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, I'm looked at. Hold on, folks.
There you go.
That looks better.
Yeah.
Okay, so he should have forged it down this way and then continued to draw it out. Because as he forged it down this way, he would have flopped it down like that, hammered it here, and would have welded in the inclusion, or that, whatchamacallit. I just mispronounced my words. Yeah, that little delamination, if you will. If, when you do it this way, that delamination never gets fixed. It never gets smithed together. Because you're drawing, you're spreading the fibers like this, and they don't want to do that. So basically you're splitting them. When you turn it this way, you're splitting the fibers like an end grain, like that, while you hammer on it. So that's why it never consolidated back fully. Hopefully that makes sense.
Gordon Family Forge asks, when you do a forge weld and you have to upset the two pieces going together, how do you know how much to upset the pieces that you're welding together?
So, like when you're doing a face, welding a face onto a wrought iron body or something like that, you have to look at the point of fusion. There's a fusion line that you'll see. And basically, the more you work that piece, the more that fusion line grows out of welding heat. And that fusion line, or point of fusion line, is a mix of the parent bar material and whatever you're adding onto it. Just like as if you had filler rod to fill up a weld, right? It's not the same material. It's not the same material as what you're joining. Usually it has some additives to it so it'll flow better and things like that, and it'll prevent certain stuff like becoming porous and things. They have different additives in them. I know, real scientific here. But that point of fusion is a mix of those two. The parent bar and whatever you're adding to it. So with that being said, you can know that you have it fully welded when the piece cools down, in the rate of cooling at the joint and where you weld it is exactly the same. If it is not fully welded, you will see a clear difference. The face will be black or a dull red, and this will still be a bright orange or a yellow, and it will cool at different rates. It'll cool at different rates. When it is one solid billet, it will cool in transition as one piece when you have got it fully welded in. As far as how many times to hit it to get it to do that, it may depend on the material, the size of the material, and ultimately how hard you hit it in the first place. Did you lose a lot of the weld whenever you whacked it the first time? If you hit it too hard, did it splay all that out? Did you just tap it at first to mend the two surfaces? There's a lot that goes into that on there. So instead of looking at it that way, look at it as you get it on there. It looks like it's stuck on there. Let the piece cool down to like a dull red in temperature, and it should go from a nice bright yellow all the way through all the color changes and be looking like the same piece of steel. If you've got that, you know you've got it welded and it won't come off. Right?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
No idea.
Right, Jess?
Yes,
Totally.
completely. Thomas Dowding Watchtower asked if you would introduce your guest again. He must have missed the part in the beginning.
Okay. Come over here, you two. Introduce yourselves again.
For all of those who are just joining us this later half of the stream.
He's almost here.
Yep.
So this is Dan
Yep. How you
Roswell.
doing? Yep.
Go ahead.
I came
Tell
in.
about yourself.
Yep. I'll try to summarize what I said before, as short as it was. Essentially, I got into blacksmithing because it was something I could do at home. It was fun. It was very artistic. It was something that I could just let loose and just kind of do. And I've kind of progressed along enough, and as Roy pointed out earlier, I actually picked up one of his power hammers, and it was timing-wise and whatnot, it just worked out great that I could actually swing through here and pick it up in person. So
You're all the way from New York, right?
Yep, all the way from Rochester, New York. So, and I know my family's watching, so hello. I keep getting text messages from them, but I am getting them. I'm just over here trying to pay attention so I don't whack Roy's hand. So.
Yeah, I kind of like my wrist. Your turn, Chirpy. Tell me about it.
I have a YouTube channel, Chirpy's Tinkerings. I'm Chirpy. I don't really do much blacksmithing on camera, just a lot of machining. I do casting, and yeah, I go around to different steam engine festivals. And
He's very good at casting. He actually, just a few days ago, he helped me go through and taught me by hand how to go through and pack some castings and actually made a pulley. So it was absolutely fantastic. Really turned out really well.
yeah, I specialize in the technique that would have been used at the turn of the century. I use the sand casting methods that would have been done when machinery was machinery. And stuff was really made right.
Not all the computers.
Yep, no computers.
I'll let him get back to it.
All right.
Awesome.
Oh. Hey, everybody in the comment section, say hello, by the way. Make them feel welcome.
Yeah. Hammer Time New York says hi, Dan. Hi, Chirpy.
All right, hello.
Hello.
Granddad's Forge says, I forged 5 hours today without one burn. My first non-burn day. Ice cream for everybody.
Woo! Alright, but I'm going to warn you, dry ice is awful expensive to ship me ice cream. But hey, you mentioned it, so I take you as a man of your word. So while they did that, I went ahead and I'm wearing my do-rag today, and I just put some more cold water on it to help cool my head down. Because where it's sitting over here, it's a good 100 degrees today, or a little better.
Yeah, just about. And I
It
can.
might be a little better than 100 degrees. What do you think over here in this area?
It's pretty warm.
A little warm, a little spicy.
It's warm enough. My car had trouble with the air conditioning, so it's pretty warm.
Yep. Okay, I have another glove.
You're missing a glove now.
See, it's all these extra people in the shop, you know?
There you go.
It's like I can't just look around my shop and find what I need, you know?
But see, then the minions, we found it.
But the minions, they found it.
It's good.
They are worth it. Oh.
the pizza was worth it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Your cousin says, "Hello, guys. Thanks for helping my cousin."
Absolutely.
Pastor Josh Smith says, "Pleased to meet y'all. God bless you both."
Thank you. Same to you.
Vincent Golden, he says, "I always lose skin or hair, always."
That sounds like a problem there, Vincent. I don't want to watch that, pal.
Sounds like a little bit of a
All
problem.
right, you ready to cut?
Yep.
Okay, honey. Go to the anvil.
All right.
All right. Good. Good. Hold up. Good. 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 Well, cool this off. I know you're excited. You're
I absolutely
excited.
am.
Good.
This is big stuff.
Good. With wrought iron, you got time. Can you feel how it sinks with each blow? Well, we need to go more on this, I guess. Good. Well, you go a little more. Go ahead, harder. Harder. Down. Down. Good. Good there. Come over here. Good. Huh? One more on that. One right there. Light. Good job. Good job.
So are you looking for that line to be straight, like even all the way through? Is that kind
Yeah.
of why you keep inspecting it?
Yep, that's why I keep inspecting it. So, okay, so now that we've got this cut, I keep looking at the bottom of the cut, trying to make sure the bottom of the cut is even all the way across, because we don't want this to bend at a weird angle. And I'm trying to make sure that the center line of where these line up are roughly centered to the bar stock. That's how I know that they're kind of like they're running halfway down through, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now we will heat up the end piece, and I'm going to have one of my strikers hold a hammer down on here like a clamping motion, and one of the other strikers hammer on the end to bend this over. And that'll stop that from kicking in my wrist like so.
Well, good thing there's two of us then.
Yeah. Questions?
Yes, your dad asked
Great.
if a wider tool would be handy for cutting the metal.
A wider tool?
Yes.
Not really. The more the width of the tool, the more surface area is engaging the piece, which means it actually slows the cutting process down. So the more metal you have engaging other metal, the slower the process down through the piece becomes. There's more mass for you to have to overcome. Now in the case of this type work, you could probably have a wider tool. It wouldn't matter on a piece this small. You could have an axe, set an axe on there and have somebody whack the axe and it'd be the same effect. So it's like chopping wood.
By the way, if I've missed anybody's questions earlier, which I know I missed a few, feel free to drop them in again, and I'll try to answer them or bring them up to Roy. Let's see here. There is Angle 37558 says, "Hello, wonderful to see the blacksmithing process. Do you have a Twitch channel, perhaps?"
No, I do not have a Twitch stream. Although I may start one up. We do 2 live streams a week already, and I think the minimum's 3, so
Yeah.
we only have to open up 1 more live stream a week. Do that.
Pastor Josh Smith says,
And good to have you as the channel, by the way.
yes, nice to have you. Yeah. If anybody's new, let us know. We'd love to welcome you to the stream. John McCann says, no pirate shirt tonight.
Nope. I decided to bring out the big guns and wear the full apron. Oh. Pirate shirt just doesn't fit quite right under the apron. Alright, what we got?
Pastor Josh Smith says it was 102 here yesterday. It'll probably be more than 110 before long.
I don't envy you.
I think he said he's in Illinois.
Well, you're close enough.
Thomas Doubting Watchtower says hot as the hinges of Hades.
It's hot enough.
Vincent Golden says, my forge is a little bit too close to my anvil. I'm still trying to get it all figured out, but I'm getting there slowly.
You'll get there, Vincent. Take your time. Do it right. Great part is, it won't take long to bring this whole billet up to forge welding, because now that we've done all this work, it's pretty much preheated everything. So, it'll get up to welding temp pretty quick when we go in for a weld.
This might be a stupid question, but how do you keep your tongs and stuff from rusting when you're pouring water on them all the time?
Well,
Every day.
I do oil them from time to time so they don't really get a full interaction of that water to the tong material. But the main reason why is because the water doesn't actually sit on the surface long enough to rust it when they're at this heat. That lid frost or Leiden frost effect happens pretty quick on them. But some of them will. And I don't worry about it too much. I heat them up, stick them in oil, and from time to time rub them down. Yeah. Now I've seen guys dunk their tongs in a bucket of water and just like leave them in the slack tub. I would not suggest that at all. Like, you know, I've seen guys do that. Like, their tong storage is their slack tub.
Not a good idea, no.
Don't do that. That's a good way of wasting a good pair of tongs.
Yeah.
Pastor Josh Smith says he's in Central California, not Illinois. That's right. Somebody else had said Illinois. That's why I got it mixed up.
Central California. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, good.
Okay. Thomas Donning Watchtower says you guys ought to have a TV show about blacksmithing on PBS.
Do you think anybody would watch us?
Who knows? We got
Kinda
at
like
least
that
65
boring
people.
old-
Yeah,
that nobody
at least
likes.
65 people. That's
Yeah.
great.
All right.
So which hammer is going where, just so we can plan?
Okay, so the flat hammer will be the hammer that's the clamp hammer because
Okay.
it's the heavier one. And either one of you can do that. You want to do that portion?
Yep, he's the stronger, so
Do you want to do the clamping part or do you want to do the bending part?
he's bending for it. I'll hold his plan.
Okay.
You got,
Okay.
you can
So-
give it a good whack.
All right, so you'll hold that. And now when we bend this, we're not swinging for the fences. We just want to persuade it to
Yeah.
bend.
Yep.
Okay? So just tap it and watch the result. So if it bends pretty easily, that's the right force. Just kind of keep hitting it until it touches the side of the...
Yeah, I know you guys are holding on to it.
Yeah.
Hit it real hard, it's going to recoil pretty bad.
Yeah, we want to convince it. Oh, the light. Ah! It came back.
It did.
Yeah. That's all right. I might still replace it. Okay.
I blame Kirby on that one. He was in the car and I got
Is that
weird cell reception. Never had that problem before.
All right. I think we are ready, honey. Let's go to the anvil.
All right.
Okay. So now we're gonna be on. You'll be over here.
Over here.
Well, no, you can stand there. That's fine.
Right.
Okay. So now we're gonna be on the far side of the anvil, not on the near side. We're gonna be on the far side. I'm gonna have Chirpy. He's gonna set a hammer on top and he'll kind of just press down a little bit, or not Chirpy.
Yep.
Sorry. Dan is going to hold down on it, and then Chirpy is going to tap the end of the billet to take and bring it down. We're gonna zoom this out so that you guys can see that. So you don't have to hit, just
Yep.
press and hold.
I'll
And
try to contain my excitement.
Keep your knuckles at a safe distance, because it will be hot. Alright, so you want this at lower than a forging heat for wrought iron, so it'd be at a high heat for mild steel. Go ahead and clamp down on it. Go ahead, Kirby. Nice and easy. There you go. Going around. Well, okay. Now go ahead and just tap it back this side. Lightly, lightly.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah. It's
Give me a little light tap. Lightly. Good job. Okay. So there we have it. That's been bent over.
Yeah, it's split on it, I think.
Yeah, that's okay. It'll do that if you go too hard with it.
Oh.
It'll do that if you go a little too hard with it.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
It's going normal and it just instantly get real soft.
Yep.
Yeah, it snapped.
That's when you have to go real slow with it once you feel that give there.
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah, too late by then, but that's alright. It's still on there. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and bend it the opposite direction.
Alrighty.
Sound good?
So you heat it
I'm
up
amazed at
again?
how easy it actually stuck. Just like came right out.
So now it's not welded yet. It's just forged over.
Okay.
So we're going to build this up into a billet and then it'll be welded. So
Okay.
we'll just get this good and hot again. Questions, Jess?
Sure. Brian Neely says, I know I would watch you on PBS. However, I work at a PBS station and I'm watching you at work, so at least one person is watching you at PBS. Billy Strong says, I would watch TV again if it had something this good on it.
Boy, I tell you what, you guys are nice. I think they're just hoping I'm going to give away this hammer after I get it done.
Somebody asked, what is the weight going to be of it?
The finished out weight will be right around 8 pounds. It'll be between 7.5 to 8 pounds. Sledgehammer when it's fully finished.
Champ Ironworks says, do you have to worry about it scaling between layers and causing cold shuts?
No, wrought iron self-fluxes. It means when you weld on it that first time, it blows all that out of there. So the silica starts to migrate from the top layer through to the bottom and it fills that void and it's a molten state. So when you weld on it, it blows that silica out and it fluxes the joint. It takes the impurities out with it. You have to remember, a lot of times in wrought iron, way back in the day, in order to build up enough wrought iron for a piece back in the big factory, saying like an anchor factory or forge welding, they would basically take big, giant piles of scrap wrought iron and just lay them cross-hatch like all up in a big pile on like a metal skid. And then they would shove that whole thing into a great big giant, a lot of the times oil, an oil base. A lot of them were coke back in the day. Big old coke furnace that they'd shove that thing into, bring up to a big bright white sparkling heat, bring it out and give it heck. So at no point in there did they throw sand on it or, do any of that garbage. It self-fluxes and they would forge it down and they would remove the impurities that were already naturally in the wrought iron and they would remove any impurities of oxidization or anything that got into the wrought iron through the process of drawing that material out and refining that billet.
By the way, do you have your hammer? Were you going to show it off at some point, the one we finished last
Yes,
week?
it was.
Yep.
So, let me get this bin up
Okay.
and then we'll go over that.
Okay, save it for a little bit later then.
Huh?
It'll be a big contrast, an 8-ounce hammer versus the 8-pound hammer.
Yep. So once I get this bin up, I will show that hammer I was working on in the last live stream. So wrought iron with steel face as well, and etched, so it looked nice. Good etching too. What else, honey? Questions, comments, complaints?
No complaints. Scott Davidson says, I don't know about anyone else, but we gave up TV, so my family of 9 will continue watching on YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah, we actually got rid of our TV a couple of years ago, and we just watch movies on
Not
the
a
laptop.
couple. A long time
Yeah, I guess it
ago.
has been about the time when they switched to the little blue boxes. That's about the time that we. It's been quite a few years, but yes.
Whatever those were, the little
Converter
analog
boxes,
converter
yeah.
boxes. When they switched to that, we
Yep.
stopped watching TV.
Pretty much.
Basically.
Corey Shire says, "How much iron did Roy start with?"
Oh. So the iron that I started with, the length of the bar was about almost 20 inches long worth of material. It was about 19 inches in total was the length of bar that I started with. The wrought iron itself, it weighed 8.8 pounds. What we're working on right now is 8.8 pounds. Then we're going to add 3.6 pounds worth of high carbon tool steel faces to it. And then there'll be approximately a pound of decorative cheek pieces. Now, I haven't shown those, and I'll show it in the next heat here, but it's basically, I'm going to be chasing in what they call a Greenman face. It's a face in the side of the hammer. Kind of think of like Old Man Winter kind of look. That'll be chased into the side decorative panels. It's a Tom Latney-esque. It's a Scandinavian style.
It's right there.
Yep, I'll get it here on the next heat. So, all right, we ready?
Yep.
We got a clamper and a striker.
Yep.
All right. We got that good and hot.
So
Clamp
this side
right
here,
there. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, chirpy. Slow. There you go. Go a little lighter with it. That's good. Keep going. Good job.
Start that chair.
Okay, that's fine. Well. Okay, good enough. Go ahead and tap it back this way. Cameron. Joe.
No, this one's putting off the nuts.
Yep. All right, I'll take over here. Who else thinks this is a big billet of wrought iron?
It is looking quite large, even on Olga. Normally she makes everything look small.
Alright, who likes that so far? I've got the sweet sandwich. The sandwich of iron. Who would like to come and give it a taste? That is like the worst accent ever I could probably ever pull off, isn't it?
I was trying to figure out what exactly that was. Was it Italian?
In my head, it sounded really good. In my head, it did.
I'm just being polite, so my mother always told me not to say anything if you had nothing nice to say.
Great job, Chirpy. You did a great job on that one, sir. Thank you, sir. You did a great job on that.
Thank you.
We've got one more to go, so you're not off the hook yet.
All right. That's good instruction. That's makes it easy for us to follow.
Good.
Rock Mike says, "Wow, that is massive."
And the amount of heat this thing puts off is nuts.
Yes, it is a
Burning the
lot.
hairs off my hand,
Yeah.
or off my knuckles.
Yeah, I can say that. I have no hair left.
Yeah.
About this time, I can tell you, there's some leather welding gloves right up there for whoever wants one. And then there's another pair over there just under the rack. So there's two pair if you guys want them.
We're almost done with this.
This portion, there's.
Yeah.
Wait till we bring it up to a white heat. You might want those gloves yet.
Yeah, I
So
got gloves in the car.
good.
Pastor Josh Smith says that was really cheesy. The accent.
Or not yet.
Oh, all right. Hopefully they can see this. Bring this over the angle, honey.
All right, give me
Can
one.
they see that?
Hang on a second.
Is it ugly? Kind of looks like a monkey now that it's
Weird.
kind of wore out.
Okay.
It did have detail at one time. No, it just looks like a monkey.
Yeah. You're good.
So if it's not a monkey, it'll be a Greenman face. Just trust me, it'll look better than this. I
Okay.
can't sketch to save my life.
But by golly, you can chisel it.
But I can chisel it, by golly. It will look like a human's face. think of the guy off of Jumanji. Did anybody know the guy off Jumanji, that colonel that was on the hunt? Maybe I'm the only guy on here that knows.
Wait, the new Jumanji or the old Jumanji?
The old Jumanji,
Okay.
with Robin Williams in it.
That's the
Some
other-
of you will get that. That was the best one. Woo! Alright, so it's gonna look like that.
All right, now you guys know. Tekran Maddox says, Roy's Hair and Beauty Salon for all your hair removal needs.
Yes, I can attest to that. It's
Yeah. Hey, I offer no pain, no touch waxing. No pain, no touch waxing.
Well, it's not necessarily no pain, but hands-free,
Well, once the nerve endings are dead.
well,
Sears.
Steve Dingman says Sasquatch. That's what your drawing
Sasquatch.
looks like.
That's
yeah.
what I drew on the plate. Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
That is probably an accurate statement.
Darren says, hey, I would like to commission you to make 2 hammers for me. One soft base and one to work iron. No hurry, and make any videos you like.
Okay, Darren, I appreciate that. Go ahead and email me, you know, what you're thinking. Just go ahead and get in contact with us at my Gmail or on the website. I'd love to take and do that work for you. It will be definitely a few months. Right now I'm scheduled out about 4. Scheduled out about 4 months right now, so good work. But I would love to do that.
Granddad's Forge says, Roy's nerve endings have burnt off. He feels nothing. LOL.
I feel nothing.
Pretty much. At least we got him to go over to Mr. Thing, so, you know, he can keep his skin intact.
That's just my arms.
So as Peter Bruner would have said, when I worked with him at Quad State, he would have said, I don't want to hear your girly excuses. Do the work. So,
That was a better accent that time. You know,
Yeah.
it was a little closer.
a little better. I'm a little more closer to my region. I am part Irish, Scottish, and German.
There
so.
you go.
And he was German. So.
Yep.
I was gonna say that was better German than your
Little
Italian.
better. Little closer to my heritage. I have no Italian in me whatsoever. Hello. I'm about as white as it can get. No olive tone skin here. Yeah, he said that once. We were doing this demonstration with a guy by the name of Ben Beckett at Beckett Forge. And he pulled this bar of steel out of the fire. It was in the gas forge. It had been heating for a long time. I mean, that thing was screaming hot. Like, it was smoking his leather gloves while he was holding it. And he pulls it out of the fire. He's like, man, it's hot. It's hot. And Peter, without a misbeat, he's like, it's okay. He's like, just hold it right there. He's like, it's hot, you know? And so he ended up dropping it because it's so hot. I grabbed it and cooled it off. He's like, I don't want to hear your girly excuses. Do the work, he said. He's like, in my country, we do the work. It was fine. There was a bit of a language barrier there. I don't know, a whole bunch of barriers there, but Peter, he was an interesting guy. We got along pretty good.
Ed Gray Wolf asked where you get your apron.
I got my apron from a guy by the name of Chip Brown at Brown Cow Art. Oh, he's a leather worker. He goes to the Ohio Renaissance Fair. That's one of his main gigs. Right now he's at the Celtic Festival there in Dayton, Ohio. Right now, currently, and he's designing, well, it's already been designed. He's right now crafting me a new leather apron. One that'll be just a lap apron, but it's got my shop crest and everything else in it, so. Yep. Does great work. It's not cheap, but it's worth it. Not cheap, but worth it.
We have a Param Parsud joining us from the Caribbean Guyana. I totally mispronounced that, sorry. But from the Caribbean. Yeah, from the Caribbean. That's pretty cool.
Param or Param?
Param.
Param, okay. Good to have you, sir.
Rock Mike says, I gotta go. Thanks for the live stream and keep cranking.
You're welcome, Rock Mike. Thank you for being here, buddy. We appreciate you. Alright, you ready to clamp again, fellas?
Yep.
Alright. Let's do this again.
Wow.
Go ahead and clamp. Oh, no, let me go over. There we go. Now clamp. And hammer. Hammer it in hard enough. A little more extra in it. Good job. Good job. Well, alright, go ahead and whack it back towards me. Alright, well, you take it in from here.
Okay. It's hard to get in with that angle.
Those are some big pieces of scale coming off of that thing.
Yeah, okay.
Brian W. Yes, we are located in Ohio. We are near Dayton, Ohio.
Alright, there we go. What do y'all think?
Got it all folded up. That's cool.
That's a big enough build. I'd make Alex Steele proud, baby. Unfortunately, I do not have a Pilkington. But I do have a Chirpy. That's all I need.
I'd agree with that. He's got that power.
Oh man, look forward to this. This is gonna go good.
Granddad's Fortress. How many Buckeyes does it take to make a sledge?
Well, there's only one Buckeye here. The other two are from, I don't know what you call them, what, New Yorkers?
Well, I'm New York. He's Ohio.
You're Ohio?
Yeah, I'm on
Okay, there's two Buckeyes then.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side of the state. Directly east of you.
Okay.
Yep. 3-hour drive.
Alright, so there we have it. Now we can take and bring this thing up to a welding heat.
It's gonna be white hot.
Oh, it's gonna be hot indeed.
Yeah, it's gonna be
It's
fun.
gonna feel
That
like
was
being inside
already
an
hot.
oven. Let's see.
Better get out the extra gloves.
Yeah, really.
Rigid Ironwork asked if you're gonna be doing any engraving on the hammer, Roy.
Yes, I won't be doing engraving. I will be doing chasing work on it. I'll be doing chasing work to the face. Did you write down our supporters, Jessica?
I did not.
No?
I could pull it up and read it off if you want me to.
If you don't think that'll crash the stream.
Our CPU's been running low, so I think we're fine.
What's that?
I said it's been running on the low end, so I think we're all right.
Okay, why don't you pull that up and read that off?
Okay.
While I get a drink of water here.
Yes. Give me
Because
just...
I'm out and I'm parched.
Yeah, definitely. Get a
So
drink.
I basically drank this entire thing in this sitting. There's only like less than a cup of water left in that thing. So.
That is a lot, yeah.
Yep. We'll leave that there. And yeah, I'll go get some water real quick.
Okay,
You want to read that off?
Yeah, just
One of you
me.
come here and
Do it, Jake.
make up cool stories.
Stories.
Intermission.
Intermission. I don't know any good blacksmithing stories though.
We are taking a momentary intermission, yeah. Gotta have keep the main blacksmith here hydrated.
Just put the eye candy out.
Let's see.
Anything else need a water?
No, I've been filling right over there.
You good?
It's been good, yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I can attest, he said it was going to be hot. I have the gloves on this time, and it was still really hot. I mean, I could feel it right through the gloves.
Alright guys, I made it over to the area where I could see everybody's super chats. And so I'm going to read off our supporters for the last 30 days. And it's a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the channel. That's helped us get our camera gear. And, you know, one of our next upcoming purchases is going to be a lavalier mic or a forget the other name for it, but a mic that
wireless
goes, yeah,
lapel
like,
mic.
Yes,
Yep.
lapel mic.
Yep.
Yep. So that is what will be one of our upcoming things. So from tonight, Jason Sullivan from Shamrock Forge. We have Darren from Energy Management, Graham Pepper, Gordon Family Forge, Coffee's Forge, Rishi Sund, D. Thomas, County Line Forge, Coffee's Forge, For the Honor Forge, Billy Strong, Graham Pepper. Sorry, I know some of these are on here twice. Paul Ellis, Big Dog Forge, Average American, and I believe that's the bottom of the list. Let me double check here. Yep. So thank you to all of you supporters. We really appreciate you. I know we had a few on PayPal too. I don't have that list pulled up currently, but make sure everybody you give them a big hand clap. We appreciate your support.
Hot enough in here for you?
Hey, you're pretty
It's
speedy,
hot
Roy.
right in this area here.
Is
Oh yeah,
Is
right,
that
Just
right
a
next to
little
the oven.
So I'm standing about 5 feet that way, and it's a night and day difference. I can completely agree with Roy having to wear all that extra leather on there. And in fact, if I was on this side, I would have had my sleeves up. It's really very intense over here.
Did you need a water, Jess? Are you okay?
I'm good. I got a bottle over here. Thank you though.
If anybody needs a more cold one, you can get over there.
Now back to the main event.
Yes. Corey, if it's getting glitchy, try refreshing. If anybody else is having an issue with the stream, please let me know.
How's the CPU, Jess?
63%.
Okay, cool. Dan, could I have you open that box, blue box here for me? You can get your water, it's not a big deal. There's a little hammer sitting on top.
Oh wow.
So I'll do a little reveal of this little hammer. I put the hammer handle in it, got it finished up. Anybody's get interested in that little deal? So there you go. I've got some pictures on Instagram about it. And if you want to see the etching up close, I've got 2 videos on it. They came out today. You can check the channel for those for most recent videos. But yeah, so I chose to do a coffin handle. Basically, it's got, I don't know if you can see that or not. Basically, it's got the kind of the coffin top shape, and it's got a bevel right down the center, so it's got a peak right in the center. I did a composite handle on it, so there's a hickory strip in the center and pine on the overlays on the outside. Basically, pine's all I had on hand that would contrast the hickory, but I just wanted to test it anyhow, so test went out pretty good. It's pretty decent. One thing I'll do in the future is I'll shave this down in here and narrow the cross section in here a little better, give that handle a little more shape than just straight like it is now. But yep, it's a great little hammer. Oh, there's the finished product of what, 1, 2, 3 live streams?
3 live streams, 5 parts total.
Yep.
Yep, because we were having technical
Which
difficulties.
the links are down in the description if anybody wants to check it out on the replay or something like that.
Yeah. No.
So that's etched, so that shows you the high carbon steel faces in it that were welded in. And the wrought iron.
Is it okay if I get up for a second? I'm gonna leave it on the main camera.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
Alrighty, I'll be right back.
Okay, babe. So she's gone. What do we want to talk about? Yeah, you can set that back in there. So, yeah. So now I'm just going to basically bring this billet up to a nice welding heat. We're going to get cranking on it here, and then we're going to weld away. And it's going to be an amazing spark and shower show. So get ready to screenshot it. It's going to be a good one. If you notice right here, the color of the flames have changed in the fire pot. That is because now we are burning more in coke than what we are green coal or breeze. Those big yellow flames that come off the top, that is coal that is still being converted into coke in the fire pot. Now we've got a good clean fire pot of mostly just coke. So that's why you've got those sharp blue flames coming out of it instead. So we're going to take the fire up to the color that we want it to be, where we want the wrought iron to be. and then we'll slowly back off the airflow as that wrought iron comes up to that temperature of the welding heat that we're looking for. Now, contrary to popular belief, to get a weld, you do not need to murder it when you hammer on it. You're going to hammer very lightly at first. It's more of a pushing, more of a pressing type action. The reason for that being is if you weld the ever-living tarnations out of it, not only do you blow out all that silicate, which we want to do to a degree, so it can take out some of the impurities with it, right? Some of the scale and oxidization that may inhibit welding. But if you hammer it too hard at first, it will blow all the molten material, surface material, out of the weld too. And so you'll have nothing but non-weldable material. And so the weld won't stick or fuse. So you need to take and hammer on it lightly at first, just to get it consolidated. And then you can take, in the next welding heat, then you can go to town hammering on it to fully blend in that weld.
I think that's a good description.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good description. Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. I've seen forge welding videos, but I think doing it is going to be it's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah. Is this your first time ever trying forge welding?
It is.
Well, there you go.
Yes, it
You get
is.
to try it in like the most complex way.
Well, the difference is there's a master guide here that can help guide you.
There's a lot of mass here, so this is actually an easier weld to make than that little wrought iron hammer. That little wrought iron hammer took more effort to get welded, and it was quicker, had to be quicker with it and snappier. This here, it'll look like I'm taking all day to get it out of the fire, set it on the anvil, whack, whack, whack. It's like, because it's still going to be at welding heat when I put it back in the fire. So, once it gets up to welding heat, it holds welding heat for a good long length of time.
And that's just the mass of it is letting that happen.
Yep. What's up, Jess?
Yeah, I'm back. Coffee Forge says she's back. Yep.
Would you mind carefully filling that bottle for me, please, with cold water? Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing
Hammer Time New York had said the handle looks great too on your little hammer.
Thank you.
Thomas Dowding Watchtower says sometimes would you guys like to do a Bible study live stream where everyone can talk about the Bible?
Oh, that would be interesting. Would say I'd be opposed to that.
Pastor Josh Smith says, all right, time for dinner. God bless you. Again, happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. You're about to miss the good part.
Yeah, you're about to miss the weld. Well, I understand. You gotta eat, you gotta eat. There's a wolf hunt. Wonder where it was.
They grow legs.
And they walk right off.
Yes.
Oh, there's a question a few minutes ago from Got Milk 1061. They ask, what's the difference between chasing and engraving?
Okay, engraving, you are removing material from a cut. So you're cutting and you're peeling out a chip. In chasing, you're just pushing material one way or the other, or upheaving material out of the surface. That's the difference between the two. Did that help? of silence over there, Sugar.
Alright, sorry. I didn't know how close you were. Like, I didn't know if this was like a drum roll moment
I'm getting
or...
ready.
No, it's gonna be a little bit.
Okay, it'll be a few
Just a few
moments. Okay, we can like relax back a little bit. Just waiting for this to happen. Techromatic says, I didn't realize Father's Day is a different date there. We have it in September here in Australia.
Yep. Just a little different. Up until about 3 days ago, I didn't even know it was Father's Day. It didn't occur to me.
We get kind of too busy for holidays here, so
Yeah.
just work. Susan Ellis, I believe earlier, she said that she had found a listing at a garage sale for a 100-pound anvil and asked what a good price would be.
100-pound anvil, expect to pay, if it's in really great shape, the top is in really good condition, $4 a pound. If it is not in good condition, that means it's got chunks all out of it and all the other stuff, don't pay over $2 a pound for it. You're wasting your money. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
Okay, we are almost there, guys. We're getting there.
Great.
Here's your water.
Thank you. Get hydrated.
You want the flat hammer or the other?
Slow up, we're real close to heat. So slow, nice slow drink.
You want the flat hammer or the other?
We use that one.
That one? Okay.
Yep. So it's just going to be real light tapping, kind of snap, 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 snap like that, okay?
Yep.
Not
Yep.
this, but
Yep.
just snap, snap, snap. Okay?
Concentrate around or just one spot?
Closest to me and then work towards you.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
With overlapping blows.
Okay.
Out to the end, okay?
Yep.
Good job. Thank you, Chirpy. Oh. So that'll be the first weld, and then we're coming up. We've got plenty of oxygen in this piece now. I need to get some more coke underneath it. But we're going to take a weld, so it's up hot enough to be considered a light welding heat. Just enough to get some fusion, so let's go with this. All right, we ready?
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, go to the anvil.
All right.
Back this way up, so you can see. Alright, and here we go. Wow. Go. Go, go, go. Light and fast, go. Good deal? Go. Light and fast, go. Well, now light and fast, one more time. Alright, well, it's good. So the top portion is mostly consolidated at that. It's on there. We're going to bring it up to another full weld heat, and then we're going to go to town on it. What do y'all think of that?
I totally hid behind the computer on that one. I was
that?
like, I hid behind the computer. I saw the sparks. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna duck.
That is the brightest piece of steel
That
I've ever
was
seen.
very bright. Yeah. The camera like auto darkened down to like black practically. Everything else went black except for the
One more
lid.
like this.
What's that?
One more like this.
Yeah, we're going to do one more of light hits. Would you like to get in on this?
No, I'll go.
You sure?
He's the heavy guy.
Alright, you'll go when we start working it down, okay.
Ed Gray Wolf asked if you use flux for forging.
This, I've said it a few times here, the wrought iron is self-fluxing. There's no need in it. The only time that it's imperative that you use flux with wrought iron for the best result that I have found is when you are welding high carbon tool steel to wrought iron, because one's self-fluxing, one is not. And And so it helps to have that flux go against the surface of the high carbon tool steel. It's not needed. You can get it to weld. I have just stuck with, I've started with flux when welding high carbon tool steel to low carbon material, and I always get my weld, and it always sticks. So I go with what I know. There's guys who claim that they can do it without that. More power to them. There's guys that say you can use sand. More power to them. You know, more power to them. I stick with what I know, 20 multi borax when it's high carbon steel to Wrought.
I'm actually glad you said something. It came up so bright. I was almost mesmerized by it.
Yeah.
Ed Gray Wolf says, what about to attach high carbon steel? Flux for high carbon steel on a large billet.
Yeah, I just said that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Welding high carbon steel to a lower carbon content material, you want to use flux. If you're working with wrought iron, you still want to use flux for that. That's what I have found best for my results. There are people who say you don't need that, and they have results, good results without it. But wrought iron as a whole or in general is self-fluxing, and it's not needing to constantly be fluxed. In fact, throwing too much flux on a piece while you're trying to weld it is in effect dirtying your weld. Flux is not a candy-coated sugar topping. It is not to protect it from oxidization. Flux eats scale. Flux is boric acid. Boric acid eats scale. So it doesn't caramelize. It does do that to a degree, but that's not its function. Its function is to go through the joint, through capillary action, and clean the joint of that surface oxidization, that iron oxide. It's meant to eat the iron oxide layer out between the two pieces to allow clean molten metal to fuse. So that is the purpose of a flux. Now, if you throw, and you can try this, take a big bunch of flux, put it in a joint, put it between two pieces that you want to weld, I mean a gob of flux. I want it to be floating on flux when you do this experiment. And just make sure it's just one big white frothy ball of flux. Bring it up to a welding heat and then weld with it. Then I want you to take a piece and I want you to just sprinkle the joint on the edge, just on the edge of the piece, and let it wick through and bring that out and weld and tell me which one sticks. I guarantee you 10 times out of 10 it will be the one that you lightly fluxed, not the one that you threw a big gob and glob on there, because that flux can get trapped and pocketed in there and pop your weld apart, and you won't get a complete fusion of the joint. Those statements will get me in trouble. I know they will. But truth hurts, so there's that.
Thomas Urso and Dan Boyles, you are just in time for the fun.
Yeah, we just made our first weld.
My first weld too.
Yeah, your first weld too.
There you go.
There you go.
My first forge weld was on the chain making live stream we did.
Yep. I actually hung it up in the shop. Sit over there on the post.
Oh, you're putting that for display, huh?
Yep. Okay, we're almost up to heat again. Up to a nice welding heat again. Now we're up really nice. This is going to be good. Okay, so no mesmerizing when you look at it this time.
Yes.
Nice,
I'm
light,
over it.
fast blows.
Yep.
Okay? So,
And do you want to slide or do you want me to move?
what's that?
Because we were kind of fighting each other.
You just stay centered
still, I can
and
do
I'll
that.
move underneath the hammer blow.
All right,
Okay?
that sounds good.
All right, we ready, hon?
Yep, ready.
Okay. Oh, 3, 2, 1. There you go. Go on. Okay. Alright, well. Alright, that's good enough. Now we'll actually use some force on it next time.
Some power hammer.
Yep. What do y'all think about that glow? That's where it's white, almost incandescent on camera right now. But when we first brought it out, it was white
Yes. Yep.
and incandescent. That's what it has to be at in order to forge weld. Who likes that?
That's one big.
That's a screenshot right there, if there ever was one.
You could like totally drop an egg on there and it'd like cook right now.
Probably cooked before you even hit it.
It would do more than cook.
Wow.
Yeah, Mr. Coffee, I'm not actually cold. I have put on my sweater on, number one, to protect me from any spare sparks that came my way, and number two, the bugs that I have coming in behind me. So, yeah, it's still pretty warm in here, probably around 80 or 85 degrees. At least. Hotter by the forge. Mr. Urso, yes, we have a few guests this evening
Yes, we
that
do.
are joining us and giving Roy a hand in the forge welding process.
Hard. He found the hook. Alright, who would like to do a little bit of cranking here?
Right. Sure. I can crank.
Okay? A little bit of cranking. I'm going to step away from the fire for a second. The fire's getting intense, so
That's how you.
nice and slow. Yeah, nice and slow.
Mr. Jason Sullivan, I'm not sure if you're trying to give us your email address or somebody else. If it was for us, I don't have a pen right now where I could write that down. But if you
Yep.
go to our website, blacksmithpdfs.com, in the right-hand corner there's a contact button, and there's like a little form you can fill out, and we'll get it that way. So if you want, you can contact us that way.
Thank you, brother. Man, I need to have guys in the shop more often. They make my life easier. I've got one fetching water, got one cranking the blower for me and watching the steel.
I'm telling you, you need some apprentices.
I tell you what, or just me. I could go kick it up out in the yard right now, go lay on the swing. Just turn it over. You got this right, Dan?
Absolutely. We got the late blows, now it's just hard hits, right?
Yeah, now it's just heavy hits, you know. Chirpy's got this, don't you? Heck yeah, man. Thank you, sir.
Bond Franklin says, great show. How old do you reckon that bellow is, and what is your most antique tool?
The most antique tool that I have in my shop currently is probably, well, it's a cross. I think it's this Champion 400 blower. I believe the date, this was in Lancaster, PA. It has a date on it somewhere. I think it was 1900 something.
1901, Lancaster, PA.
Yeah, 1901 in Lancaster, PA. So that's how old this thing is, or at least that blower is. I don't know if the body is. That might not be original. On the back side of this, you guys can't see it, but facing that way, there's a number 4 on the forge. It's an actual embossed plate. So I think it was probably either in a technical school setting at some point, or it was a part of a riveter's line, most likely. A lot of these type forges were used in shipyards and things, so it could be up in the air. Like I said, shipyards, Lancaster, PA. I know where they made it, the Champion. So, but that's probably the oldest thing. Probably second oldest to that would be this anvil. Well, the second oldest would probably be this anvil here.
Brian Neely says he thinks it's cool how he can see the background changing behind me during the video. Earlier it was like super bright out there, and then I was all dark, and right now I'm really bright because of all the lights and it's dark out there. Yeah, we're actually sitting out this side just behind me. You probably can't see it at all. Well, there's a barn right about there. There's a barn out this way, and there's also our garden out behind us too.
bro. Right there. Is that good?
Yeah.
No, for sure. Oh, he gets the fan and I'm by the fire. I see how that is.
You got that fan.
Well, somebody's got to sweat. We can't let Chirpy do all the work.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
At least the temperature's going down compared to what it was earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, through the process of time, these have gotten quite smoky
wow.
hot here.
These are hot.
We don't want them to do that. You'll lose the tension in them. I'm going to go ahead and reestablish some of that tension here. Don't want to do too much. Now I got that. Now I'll just stick these in the water and cool the bits down. These are mild steel, so it doesn't matter. You cool them off. It's not good to let the tips of your tongs or the bits of your tongs rest inside the fire. It's just a good way of ruining them after a period of time.
Those off of mine.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Yeah, it kind of ruins them after a while. They get all seized up and jumped up. Like, gee whiz, I can't do anything with these tongs. It's like, oh, that's why. You go stand by the fan if you need, Dan.
Oh, I'm good.
Here. Switch it?
Sure. So this is one thing to take into consideration. Now Jessica brings me up another comment here. This is one of the things to take into consideration when you're first getting smithing. I do this full time for a living. This is my profession. It does not matter if it's 100 degrees outside, if it's 120 outside, if it's 180 in the shop. I do this full time for a living. So I am used to the heat. I am used to standing here. If you do not do this full time, or you have people helping you that don't do this full time for a living, you need to take constant breaks, step out of the shop, get cool breezes. Nothing is worth you passing out in a blacksmith shop, because there's a good chance you might wake up on the other side being an invalid. You know, you fall and you hit your face on an anvil that doesn't move, or you fall yourself into the fire, or happen to trip over a slat tub as you pass out and hit God knows what that's sharp and pointy and hot in the shop. It's not worth the hammer or the flour or the knife or whatever it is that you're working on. You need to know your limits in heat. There's nothing manly about a dead man. Nothing manly whatsoever. So if you need to take the piece out of the fire, and you need to go lay in your house in the coulee for a while, do that. Come back at a later date when it's a lot cooler outside for you, until you build up to the heat. You know, a lot of times you look at somebody who does it for a long time and it just looks like the heat doesn't bother them, and they're just going to town and they talk how they work for 12 hours a day, and you feel like you need to do this. You know, you feel like that's what it means to be a blacksmith. You know, well, I'll just tough it out, right, and soldier on. Heat stroke and heat exhaustion is not worth it. It's no joke. I've had heat exhaustion before where I pretty much was vomiting violently. Don't want to push yourself to that point. It's not worth it.
So you asked for a comment. Graham said that he made 10 leaf keychains in the last 2 days, and they're getting better as he goes.
Good.
Coffee Scorch says he works under hot cars all day.
What's that?
Coffee Scorch, he said he works under hot cars all day.
Yep. But it's something you have to build up to. It's not something that you just go from sitting on your air-conditioned couch, typing on a computer screen, you know, and then go to your office where it's nice and cool. You get in your car where it's nice and cool because you hit the remote start, you know. You hop in your car where it's nice and cool. You drive to your house where it's nice and cool, and then you go out into your shop where it's 140. You spend all day in the AC. You need to come outside, be in your shop, be in the outdoor environment, inclement weather, for a good 30 to 45 minutes before you get smithing. Acclimatize yourself to the heat that you're going to be in. Constant drinks, you'll be all right.
Scott Grundy says a hydrated blacksmith is a happy blacksmith.
Yeah. A hydrated blacksmith is not a dead blacksmith. That's a good thing. We are almost there.
Billy Strong says right now he's working at a steel mill.
Speak up, baby. I can hear you. You're talking too low.
Billy Strong said right now he's working at a steel mill. Steel mill.
Oh, then you know how hot it is. And I bet you they have all sorts of safety training to tell you what you do and don't want to do.
Susan Ellis says, Roy, I really appreciate you saying all that about the heat. I'm excited about Paul getting into forging, but it's good to be aware of the challenges and the less obvious dangers.
Yep.
So Sally, I said hi.
Who?
Sally.
Okay. Techronmatic says he used to work in a boiler room in the Navy, and the first time he kept a watch and thought it would kill him. Boiler room. Does sound like that'd be tough.
Yep. So I've come to a point where I need to tear up my fire and rebuild it. It's getting a little out of hand, and I'm losing some of my coke from underneath. I'm starting to get a bit of a hollow fire. So what that's doing is that's burning a little bit on the iron, and I need to take and correct that. So with this heat, we're going to hammer on it a little bit. I'm going to set it off to one side, let this cool for a second, try to dig out some of the clinkers and rebuild the forge with coke and put it in on a new, nice, clean fire. All right, I think we're hot enough. Go for another one. Another go. This time we're going to go harder. Not as light, just more thumpy. That thing. Start off light, and I'll keep telling you harder until you get it right. Okay? All right, we ready, hon?
Yep, ready.
Okay. You're going to aim basically for the center. Keep it right in the center. One even blow, and all move underneath you, okay? Get this good and hot here. And here we go. Go for it. Towards me. Towards me. Good job. Towards me. Towards me. Harder. Whoa. Get it? Lightly. Towards me. Keep working towards me. There you go. Whoa. Good job.
Wow. Nice.
Good job. So I'm brushing this to just make sure I'm not developing any sort of delamination in the piece as we're going along here. That needs to be corrected. And now we're going to see if we've got this welded. Here's a good point. Said I've got to let that fire cool for a minute. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set it up like this. We're going to watch for what parts cool off first. If it's one solid piece, you should see the core of the material all cool at the same time. No one piece will cool off quicker. You see more scale and oxidization form. You'll notice things where they're not even a part of the weld. So if you look back here, there's no welding occurring down here. So it's kind of cooling off more. This tip out here is cooling off more. Those are just the thin areas of the billet. That's not what we're caring about. We're caring about the core right in here, where the core of our welded material is.
Looks like it might take a few minutes to cool off.
Well, but do you see? You don't have to wait any longer than this. I can already tell you that this is fully welded.
Yeah, I don't
Now,
see any dark
you can
areas.
still see lines, right? Like, I don't know if they can see that. You can still see lines in it. Those are at the end of the weld line. And so those have to be blended out in the final piece. They'll be hammered and this will be squashed and be formed a lot more before we're done there. How many hours are we in, Jeff?
2.5.
So we're 2.5 hours. Okay. Well, instead of building up the fire again, we might call that it for this evening. We got kids, we gotta get in bed and everything else, so we may call that it. This is welded, so this will be a to be continued in a video format. But you see how that core is still glowing and it's all together, but the outside edges are cooling, right?
Yep.
So it's like one block or one mass of steel. If you were to take a cross section of a piece of steel, heavy chunk of steel like this, facing you, like that, if you were to take that and you were to heat it up to a welding heat or cool it down, the edges would cool first, like it's doing here, you see? The edges would all cool first, and slowly that coolness would work itself into the center mass of that piece. That's what you want to see happen here. If it's not welded, what you'll have is you'll have hot, 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 cold. There'll be a piece that'll be clearly darker than the other pieces. That's not welded. You'll have to bring it up to a super high heat and go at it again. Make sure you flux it with some flux. There might have been something inhibiting the weld on that, and then go at it again. But this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's certainly exciting.
So that is 8 pounds of wrought iron, 8.8 pounds, so 8.5 pounds of wrought iron forge welded tonight. What did everybody think of that?
We've seen a lot of like wows. Billy Strong says, all dang. Corey Shire asked, so you should not see shadow lines on the joints of the 4 layers.
No, no. So like I said, the shadowing is, so we have 4 pieces here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, individual pieces. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see this top piece be black, this piece be bright red, these pieces be yellow. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because if this piece can turn black before the rest of the mass does, that piece ain't welded in. It's just sitting on top. When those pieces are solid, they act as one piece. Hopefully that makes sense.
Frank Strock says, good job, guys.
Awesome, awesome. So, what did you think?
I thought that was
You think,
fantastic.
Dan?
Yeah, I've never forge welded before.
Yeah.
You know, when I emailed you and you said, oh, you know, I think we're going to do that, I was like, very excited. I was driving, but I was like, oh, I'd jump if I could.
Oh. Yeah. What do you think, Kirby?
Pretty cool.
You liked it? Cool.
We're going to turn him into a blacksmith yet.
Yeah. So, you can see how that's cooled off pretty much now, and it's still doing the same rate all the way across the board. So that's fully welded. That's fully welded. Now, this is by no means done. This is going to take a lot more welding heats to take and dress in the ends dress all the ends in and to dress everything up and get it cleaned up to a nice block of material so we can actually weld faces on it. Because if you tried to weld it up right now, you can see where I had some melting issue here and burning issue because I need to rebuild the fire up. That right there along that edge, that ragged edge, we have to planish that out, and we've got to work that out and clean up all that material and refine it some more.
Champ Ironworks asked about that. He says, how much are you going to lose on the ends?
On the ends, I won't lose any material. I'm not going to grind anything off. It's not going to get cut off. It's all going to get forge welded back in to itself. So I won't lose anything on the ends.
It's pretty much, it's just going to look like one solid billet once it's all worked down.
When we get this done, this will be a solid billet of wrought iron waiting for faces to be welded on.
Do you plan on etching it?
Huh?
I said, do you plan on etching it? You'd be able to see all the lines going.
I might etch it. I might etch this one. We'll see. Like I said, I'm doing some really highly organic, faces on it. So I'm doing some chased faces with cheeks pieces that'll be going on here. So I don't know if I'll do that or not.
Yeah.
But I also didn't go over the styling. If you want to go over here, hon.
Okay.
I drew it on the hood, what I'm going for, essentially. Let me set this. Give me a second. There we go. Let that sit up there on top. Hold the forge hood down. Woo! I'll see if I can zoom this in. Hold on, folks. We're going to get close and personal for a second.
Top rack.
And I'm going to have to crank that ISO up now.
Corey had pointed out that you can see the grain structure on the wrought iron at the folds.
Yeah, you can see how it's curving around.
Yep.
Yeah. So here is what I'm shooting for in shape. It's still a Scandinavian style cross peen type of hammer. The difference between what we did on the small hammer and what we're doing on this large hammer is we're going to have really large, well, we're going to weld it up like we did the face. So just like we weld the face on with cutting the barbs and it was like a butt weld, it's going to be the same thing on this end, except we're going to taper that piece down into our peen cross section. Because in order to split this out to get enough material around how thick of a peen we're going for in this, it wouldn't be practical. It wouldn't be practical. I would either end up with a really thin piece of high carbon tool steel over here, or like unnaturally thin for this size of a hammer, or it wouldn't weld up nicely. You'd have kind of a thing where it goes down and it kind of bumps out like that, and that would look weird. We don't want that acorning effect. So this will be butt welded on the end of the billet, just like the high carbon tool steel face on the other end of the billet. Both will be butt welded or jump welded right on to the hammer face. All right, so there we go. I want to take a moment to think personally. Watch you all. You all can watch me. You all can watch me pick my boogers there for a second. There we go. So I'd like to thank everyone personally for showing up to this stream. I don't know how many people we had all the way through, but I think we had a pretty good audience attendance.
I think it got up to 72.
Stream. That's awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for everybody who donated in the super chats. You guys make these streams possible. You really do. It allows me to do things like waste 8 pounds of my wrought iron, and well, it's not a waste. It's going to be a really sick looking hammer when I get it done. But you guys allow me to be able to do stuff like this and be able to show off those traditional skills that otherwise I wouldn't be able to. The more support Jessica and I get on the channel, it allows us to do this more and more, and it allows me to pursue my craft more and more on constantly pushing the skills and showing those skills. I forget who said it to me first, and I know it's been said a couple times, you learn way more when you're teaching than you ever do when you're just learning. And I can say that that's really true, because you have to take and just this isn't apparent to somebody who's wanting to learn from you. So you really have to think it out and rethink it out and make sure that what you're saying is correct, and make sure that you're trying to give as much valuable and tangible and touchable information that you can. And so having financial support from the super chats, everybody who supports these streams on a weekly basis, thank you all so much. You do make this possible. I want everybody to give them a hand clap in the comment section for that, and thank you all for being here. Also, everybody give a hand clap in the comment section for Dan Rosewood,
yep.
Dan Rosewood and Chirpy, breaking my tools in my shop. So, yeah, everybody give them a good hand clap. So, and we're gonna call it for the evening. How's that sound, huh?
That sounds good. Just shy of 3 hours.
Just shy of 3 hours. How long do we gotta go?
12 minutes.
12 minutes. You want me to talk for 12 minutes? We'll end it on an even 3. I can give you more sob stories.
Graham asked how big the clinker is that you'll be digging out of the forge.
You want to wait around and see? I'll dig out the coke and we'll look at it. It will be quite big. I made up some excess coke earlier and did not clean out the clinker. So all this welding has been done with whatever clinker's in the bottom of this fire pot right now. Pull this out of here. See what we got. Oh, that's going to be a good one. I got a feeling. That forge is a little spicy, Just a wee spicy. Okay. Do this. No, so any questions while I'm doing this?
John McCann says, let's see the clinker. Let me see what else we have here. Corey Shire, the bug force has invaded the shop.
That it has. All right, I'm going to try to remove this real gentle like. It might be a little hot to come out in one piece, but we'll see. I can get it. Come on, baby. Oh, come on. You're there. Okay. Gotta clean it off just a little more.
Brian Neely says, Roy talked for 12 minutes. I don't think he can do it.
Hey, watch that. Is that a personal challenge? I'll give it a go.
I don't know. He put a bunch of different smiley face emojis behind it, so.
There, put that out of the way. Alright. So to get the clinkers out of my fire pot, I come down along the edge of the fire pot to the actual air grate, and then I pry like this, and that's a good way of getting them out. If you punch straight down through them and try to pry them out, sometimes that jar breaks them, and then you're constantly fishing little pieces. So we'll dig right down along the side here.
Wow.
Yeah, baby. See if I can get my fork in here just to lift it.
Wow.
That's a pretty good sized one.
And that is one solid piece. Right there. So that's the clinker that was in there.
Yeah.
And we still were able to get it to forge weld.
Is that, does the silica melt out of the wrought iron when it's heating up and contribute to that?
It does a little bit. When it was burning like that, because the oxygen, I was putting extra oxygen in because of the airflow being restricted by that big booger right there in the bottom. Because I was throwing that extra oxygen in there, when that melts down, it does melt out some of the silica, and it does find its way into the rest of this silica, basically. I want to set this thing down.
Yeah.
And I don't want to break it, so I'm going to set it over here in the ashes. There we go.
Graham?
Yeah, that was, well, I'm going to measure it.
Yeah, Graham says it's almost as big as your billet.
Yep, so we're going to measure that. That clinker is, no joke, 5 inches wide and 7 inches long. and it's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick. That's a good size clinker.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Okay, well, we're gonna end it there, fellas.
All right.
How's it? We're at 3?
You still have 8 minutes to go.
8 minutes.
See, they were all thinking you could do it, but they say, "Where's the next Roy's rant?"
Where's the next Roy rant? I don't have another one
Don't
in
have
me
one.
tonight, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. That was a lot of hot metal to move in one evening. So I don't think I have another Roy rant.
Yeah.
So, unless somebody starts talking about knives. Don't do it.
I was gonna say, I don't see anything. Everybody's talking about the clinker still.
Good, so. Alright, well, I've got small babies that don't care about my Roy rants. We're going to get them in bed. So that's going to be it for this evening. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to my 2 wonderful assistants. Thank you guys so much. We're going to have a fun day tomorrow. Forging some more on that, getting it all cleaned up and ready for high carbon steel faces being welded on. And who knows, I might do the faces if we don't get to it tomorrow. I might do those in another live stream and actually get those welded on. How's that sound?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, thank you all once again. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for watching all the videos and sharing them with your friends. And as always, God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Talk to you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.